Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They go to the eye. Play action. Bohannon back in the end zone. And a touchdown for Baylor. Drake Dabney's second catch of the drive, and it's good for 6.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Allmeyer steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Flagler for 3. Yes. Smooth.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday. Kind of a drizzly, wet, damp Wednesday in Central Texas, and perhaps, of course, we mentioned where we are, the mothership, Central Texas in Waco on 101 Elm Avenue. We are going to hear today from Sam Weber. He's a part of Open Doors. He's the Senior Director of Brand Marketing. Weber is also hooked in with Blake Lawrence, a former Nebraska football player, among others. And they are rocking NIL with what they do for student athletes. There was an article today by Stuart Mandel in The Athletic about many things NIL. We'll have him. And yes, it is Baylor at Texas Tech tonight in Lubbock. Carlos Silva will join us, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, on what you know will be an amazing atmosphere in Lubbock. Joe Juliano, he covers Villanova, retired from the Philadelphia Inquirer, but still does some work, and he'll join us on their win last night against Providence and that atmosphere. Plus, Doug Gottlieb will join us. Couldn't make it yesterday, today at 5:10. So, I don't have, what are your expectations tonight? It's a game where Baylor lost to Tech at home. It seems like it's been a while, but it kind of set the tone. They went into that 2-game funk. Oklahoma State then got them. Texas Tech is really good. McCullough, not sure about whether he plays or not. We know that Jonathan Chomwachatch was not going to play, and we don't know yet about LJ Cryer, but probably not.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see him. I'm kind of curious to see how this rolls out tomorrow night, Smokey, tonight. I'm a day off since I wasn't here yesterday, but tonight in Lubbock, a terribly difficult place to play, and it's going to be rowdy because they've fully invested in this team this year as a fan base. But maybe the good news for Baylor is nobody's seen the way that they're going to play yet, because this style that they're going to have to play for the rest of the year, there's no film on that. they've been playing one way with a bunch of different guys, and you'll probably see them have to be a little more reliant on the 3 than driving inside. So we'll see. We'll see Jeremy Sohan more at the 5. We'll see a lot more Flo Thamba. We'll see if they can avoid foul trouble, and that's going to be difficult against a team like Texas Tech. So there's a lot of things tonight going into this game.
Yeah. Craig, we saw them have to adjust during the game with Texas because that happened in the first half. And, hell, they went on a nice run against UT. Not sure if that was adrenaline or maybe the way they matched things up.
Yeah, I have no idea. Tonight, I'm expecting Texas Tech to win this game. I just am. It's in Lubbock. I know there's going to be a good crowd, and Baylor's coming off of a nice win, but one in which, you didn't feel like you even won the game because of what happened in the game with JTT's injury. And, just a constant every single game, is he, will he not play with LJ Cryer? At this point, you just assume he's going to be out. So, yeah, with JTT's injury, I think it's going to take them a little bit of time to adjust. I don't think they just drive out to Lubbock and or fly on out to Lubbock and pick up a win right away. I think it's going to take some adjustment time. So, I'm picking Texas Tech to win the game tonight. Going into the year, I thought they'd split home and home, but obviously the Red Raiders got one in Waco not that long ago, which was a nice win for them. And I don't know. It just feels like it's teed up for them to win this game for some reason to me. And I don't know why I feel that way. But if Baylor were to go in there tonight and get what, in my opinion, would be a surprising win because of injuries, and I know Tech's dealing with it too, but I'm coming from Baylor's standpoint. I'm not really looking at it from how everybody's been talking in Lubbock for the last few months. I'm looking at it from what we know here, and from this vantage point, the JTT loss is a big one. And so because of that, that's really what's pushing me in that direction, along with the home court advantage and all of that. So if they go out there tonight and get a win somehow on the road, that would be just incredibly massive, but I'm not expecting it. We'll see how well they play, though.
Papa Blake just chimed in, and I say chimed, that sounds kind of, I don't like that word, is on the chat room. Daniel, Scotty B, and others are on to start us off today. From Daniel, when you change styles, that's when teams are the most dangerous. Look at Baylor football a few years ago in the bowl game when they had no quarterbacks with Johnny Jefferson running for what was 299 yards. And they saw that for a glimpse against Texas in a game they lost, but no one really knew that they could do that and run it the way they did. Surely not Lee Fedora, and surely not Larry Fedora, in North Carolina as well. So that's the game tonight. Last night, Texas in Oklahoma went overtime, and UT they opened up a lead. They had a nice run. They were up by 8-9, whatever it was, and the next thing you know, it's overtime, and they win. And Andrew Jones had a big night. They haven't gotten a lot of big nights from him lately. He had, I think, 20 last night, and that put them right there in fourth place behind Texas Tech in the conference. Tonight's the only game. Baylor playing in Lubbock against Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas needs they need to string together some stuff. I mean, they're 18-7, they're fine. They're going to be in the tournament, but for them to make some of these transfers count and all this, they really need to string something together. They're kind of on and off, and part of that's has been so bad on the road. I sat next to our good friend Jeff Howe at the game on Saturday, and he kind of pegged that exactly how it was going to go. He said the team's really bad on the road, and Texas got to start playing better on the road. But a nice win last night over Oklahoma in the See You Later basketball series for the Big 12.
No, there's no question. And again, 6 or 7 teams in the Big 12 are going to get in, but some of them have to get their work done. TCU seems to be okay. Kansas State seems to be okay. But right now, they're all falling below 500 in the conference. There really aren't many teams in the conference above 500. If you look at it, Kansas 10-2, Baylor 9-3, Tech 8-4, then Texas at 8-5. That's it. Then you have Kansas State and then TCU, a game under 500. TCU's got a couple of games to make up. But there's only 4 teams above 500. Does that say the conference is competitive, or there are only elite teams, maybe 1, 2, 3, or possibly, I don't know about Texas yet. They've had some nice wins against Kansas. Is that what does that say? Anything? Is there a story to be told there?
I think it says both of what you just said. I think it says that the conference is ultra competitive, and what was the other part that you said?
Is it say that there's only 4?
Or yeah,
and I don't want to use
4,
elite. I
don't even think there's 4 elite teams. I think there's probably 2, maybe 3. I don't think that there's 4 though. And yeah, you look around. I mean, Iowa State's 4-9 in the Big 12. They're 4-9 in the Big 12.
Yep.
Like, that's I don't even care who you lost to. That's not a mark that you feel really great about. TCU is now below 500 in the Big 12. Oklahoma's 4-9 in the Big 12 now. And, they've not really been able to scrape many great wins together themselves, especially in conference play. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how many teams are, like, falling below the line there. But, yeah, I think it's both. I think there's a bunch of pretty good teams. I think there's 2 or 3 really good teams, and that's sort of where you are. And when you got a bunch of pretty good teams, everybody can beat everybody. And when you got 2 or 3 really good teams, you've got maybe a couple that could even go on deep runs. But, this is the conference tournament should be awfully interesting for one. That should be an incredibly interesting tournament just because you never know what to expect in any of those games. But yeah, I think it's mostly just there's a top tier. And then there's just a bunch of teams that are capable of beating everybody else on any given night.
One of the things that's going to be interesting about the conference tournament is you're going to have 2, maybe 3 teams who now, the way it's separating out, who don't need it.
No.
It's not going to change anything for them at all. So now the coaches are going to approach it with vim and vigor and like, let's go get them. But that's sometimes hard to convince teams like, they know. I mean, they go on the internet. So
right now, I would say Kansas, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Texas are in. I think Kansas State, TCU probably both still get in because there's not going to be just 4, but they still need to add some wins to the left side.
No, and when I always say it doesn't even help them, I think that I think Texas might be helped by winning the tournament is maybe moving up a line, but Baylor, Kansas, and Tech, if their trajectory continues, and there's no reason, even with injuries, to see why it would not, at least inside the conference. So if their conference trajectory continues until March 3rd or 5th or whenever it is, then their seed line's not going to be affected by what happens in Kansas City all that much. So
right now, if Baylor does somehow pull off a win in Lubbock, and again, none of us here on this set, I'm not, Craig's not, Paul, you're not expecting them to win in Lubbock. Would it shock me? No, but I don't expect them to. But it surely would put them right back in the conversation for a number 1 seed and solidify a number 2 seed. Now, Texas Tech obviously can maybe move up, would move up a little bit, their argument, because they would have beaten Kansas once and swept Baylor. So there's kind of seeding for the elite seeds or the top 1 or 2 or 3 seeds that has a lot to do with the remaining schedule as well. Now, not sure if you guys saw this or not. Ohio State AD Gene Smith saying today that the working arrangement between the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12, the so-called alliance, may not necessarily lead to scheduling agreements between the conferences when it comes to future football games.
Yeah, it was a political lobby to begin with. That's all it was. And then they said, yeah, sure, USC and Clemson can play. Why not? Yeah, let's do that. That'll happen 15 years from now.
Why did they make the alliance?
Because they wanted to lobby against essentially the SEC.
Yeah, well, and how the expansion was happening so quickly, kind of a nuke level with the college football playoff.
Yeah, that was all SEC based. We were on our way to, for all how many months now are we dragging out this playoff expansion? And wasn't that about just to be done before the committee was created and before expansion happened? Like the playoff was, chugging on down the tracks, and then all of a sudden it looked like there was going to be a whoop-de-doop, and just this little move pulled, and everybody, once Texas and OU got exposed, everybody then went, wait a second, and everybody looked out their windows and looked in their cabinets and looked under every rock, and then it was like, whoa, wait a second. Like, what is about to happen here? And I think that just slammed the brakes on a lot of stuff, honestly. And I think the alliance was created to counterbalance the SEC in particular and them just basically taking over college football, I think, in some ways. And, the future scheduling stuff was fun to talk about, but that was like icing on the cake. The cake was, this is entirely to balance out ourselves against the SEC and their power and their decision making.
Let's talk about future scheduling as well. If you want to illustrate my point, anybody online right now, go to fbsschedules.com and you can look at the future schedules and tell me, just pick a random team, where they're going to put them right now. Yeah. Even if they redo it, they have deals. Like once you start buying out, you can buy out 1 or 2 teams, and then it starts to get fiscally irresponsible and trying to make all these things up.
Exactly. The Baylor Law Tech game being dissolved was a rarity. That doesn't happen often, and then they had to find a team. Albany, they did. So that's more the exception than it is something that's just common.
I think it was also to stem any potential bleeding from further expansion from their own conferences. I think if you're the Pac-12, you had to be like, I know contracts are in place, but all the schools and the alliances, like, they're all under their contracts are now all coming up, like, together. Yep. The ACC's distant. That's because that was done more recently, but like the Big Ten's coming up. They're already in negotiations, private negotiations. They're in that like little time frame of exclusivity with ESPN. The Pac-12 we know is coming up in a year or two.
They hope.
Well, it is. Their contract's running out.
I mean, they hope they can get something done. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's coming up. Yep. So, some of the talk early on, and some of it might have just been internet gibberish, but some of it you start to think about the seismic shift of an OU and Texas movement. If you'll remember, there was all of a sudden like, wait, are you hearing what's Clemson rumors and Florida State rumors? And then it was like, oh, those two are going to jump into the SEC. And then it was the West schools, and it was going to be USC is going to be poached by the Big Ten and Oregon by the Big Ten. And those are all sorts of rumors going on. And some, certified media folks like threw a little sauce on that and was like, there's kind of some of that. And then it all just went away. And why did it all just go away? Because they formed the alliance. And so I do wonder if that alliance wouldn't have come together. If not like in the last year it would have happened, because contractually it would have been very difficult to do. But if we might not have seen more of a seismic shifting and more of a predatory move by the SEC to maybe make that Super League, and then the Big Ten to counteract that with their own, and then you're really left with a whole lot of everybody holding their bag and wondering what's going on. So I think that was all potentially avoided by the fact that it just got blown up. And then, in a scramble to basically save yourselves, they were like, let's just join up. And we can't let the SEC take over college football and become this Super League by themselves. And they, brothers in arms were like, we'll fight this off. And so now you basically got, these two sides on opposite lines.
Here we go. Let's go to Cabo. Let's go right now. What do we need?
What? Money.
Okay. Money, tickets, hotel, right? All that stuff. You just can't. You got to have a plan. It sounds good. Here's what Gene Smith said at one point in the story by Nicole Auerbach in The Athletic. We talk more about what we need to do with the Big Ten to keep the Big Ten as valuable as it is in our footprint. For our fans, our athletes, and our television partners, it's rare. Tell me if I'm reading something. It's rare that we compare ourselves even to the ACC or the Pac-12, the Alliance. If we're just looking at TV value, we're more valuable to the ACC or the Pac-12 than they are to us.
I mean, yes.
That's not a really good partnership, though. That's not.
No,
that kind of sounds like That sounds like it's arrogance, and the Big Ten is a powerful, money-making machine. But that doesn't sound like a very good relationship.
No, but it's very true in that the Big Ten didn't need much of the ACC or Pac-12, but they needed them to vote the way they did. It's kind of, it kind of just sounds like Mitch McConnell going, look, that I'm the guy. I need all these people to help me vote, but I'm telling everybody what to do. And that's what the Big Ten was doing, and that's what the Big Ten will continue to do. They've got a more powerful brand than the ACC or Pac-12 right now, and it was mutually beneficial for all three of them, but certainly less so for the Big Ten because they needed them less.
Yeah, and so that story in The Athletic, that was today, and it sounds like perhaps for scheduling that sounded good, some juicy matchups, but then again, you're going to also have Vanderbilt playing against Cal. Or whoever. Okay, you have two educationally high institutions, and, well, there's a lot of them in part of those conferences as well. So that might, think about what that could do. That could affect some things, and also the Big Ten still hasn't yet made up their mind if they're going to go 9 games or 8. I think if you have more than 12 teams in a conference, the Big 12 plays 9 games and there's 10. I think if they can do it, I think everybody, I wish they could all say everyone has to play 9 conference games, but every conference has to do it their own way. I'm not asking the Big Ten to change or whoever else to change. That was on the table. That's still something they're discussing as well, of how many conference games they end up playing.
Yeah, maybe interesting to see how that's received, from the others involved. George Kliavkoff, how does he read those comments and take that? And then again, like, the Big Ten's in power position, so he can basically say whatever he wants to, and who's going to tell him, you can't say that. Oh, really? Okay, well, you can get help from elsewhere. He has nothing to lose, really, in the position that the Big Ten is in. But, yeah, it would have been cool if the Alliance actually turned into something that, was fun for college football fans. Like all of a sudden we are getting SC versus Michigan or whatever, they play. But, some random, more big-time, more non-con matchups that maybe did have this alliance side to them. That would be unique if, there was You couldn't do it like the Big 12 SEC Challenge, because there's 3 conferences involved. But if you could do like not even like a points total every year, but just some kind of a deal that you kept up with, like a competition almost with the conferences. Like there's a lot of ways you could go with it, and then just a lot of big matchups in particular. And the fact that that's like the last thing they're worried about. It was all about this voting block, and for the fans, that kind of sucks, but that's what it was.
Moment, right?
Yeah, it did.
Here's what Smith also said, and this makes sense. They have games scheduled with Texas, Alabama, and Georgia coming up.
Well, that's what a lot of people said, though. It's like you're already playing most of these teams, so that's was part of what was just kind of curious about the whole like scheduling alliance, and it's like you're already playing most of these schools.
The scheduling alliance was something they said so that we would not focus on what they were.
Right, yeah.
Like
Voting
they said,
block.
it's a scheduling alliance so that people would not focus on the fact that they were just going to try and vote with their own interests. That's all that they were trying to do.
There was a filibuster.
Yeah.
Is that right? I mean, is that fair? You're the political guy.
I wouldn't say a filibuster, but no, it was more like a caucus.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it was. So
we have Ohio State. Those games are huge for us. Like Notre Dame this fall. It's the 6th time ever we've played them in the regular season. That's the coolest thing. I don't see us making that change. And so that's something that I'm not sure if you saw that. It came around maybe early to mid-afternoon on the Alliance. Doesn't mean it's dead, but it doesn't look like there's much of a pulse to it. Maybe that changes when we hear from other presidents, ADs, and other schools.
If the captain of that ship says it's not that important for us to schedule each other, the other two are going to be like, well, we don't need Ohio State and Michigan. How you doing over there, Wake Forest? I mean,
if you were to take those three conferences, just like you have Texas and Oklahoma with the power that they have as far as the clout, the logo, the money of the Big 12, and the SEC has theirs, is there any doubt that would Ohio State, Michigan be 1 and 2 among ACC, Big 10, and Pac-12?
Yeah, and maybe
and then USC third.
Yeah, and then Penn State's probably 4th or 5th,
and maybe they're moved in. Could be. So among those 3 conferences, I got a feeling those are the Texas and OUs of what, and of course the Big 12 is going to change here. We just don't know when, but for sure. By 2023, 24, and 25.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 ACC powers were great in the 90s, and the other one is kind of a Johnny-come-lately in Clemson. I'm not trying to knock them, but I mean, they're new to the scene relatively when it comes to being a power.
As far as clout.
As far as clout goes. So, I mean, they would be in the top 10 of power brokers, the 3 teams from the ACC, but where would they be?
The number 1 power broker in the ACC is...
I mean, right now Clemson has the most clout.
And they might be in the top 10.
But here's the thing: Clemson has the most clout, but the number 1 ratings team, television-wise, in the ACC is FSU. As crappy as they've been. So I don't know where that moves them up the ladder.
So that's just something to bring up. Texas Tech and Baylor. Some of the discussion in the chat room as well about the game tonight with Baylor and Texas Tech as far as the styles and all of that. Mike Cole checks in again from. Kentucky, thank you, Mike, for being here. South Central Kentucky. Justin R., I wouldn't mind 9 conference games if the regular season is up to 13, and then they pay the players. Mike Cole, big money, the reason the Big Ten went and got Rutgers in Maryland.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes they're an afterthought, that's still all about money.
I do wonder how much they have added. Like, certainly on the field, not much at all. But, the whole talk was about the TV markets, but that was like even years ago at this point. So, it was the whole like, well, Rutgers equals New York and, this school equals DC. And I wonder how much that has actually helped them. I mean, obviously they're getting like $1 billion contract coming up, $2 billion, whatever the hell it's going to be. So it's mattered and it's helped, but like I don't think most people even realize Rutgers is in the Big Ten still.
I would say that Rutgers and Maryland only matter to the Big Ten insofar as getting the Big Ten network on, at least at that time, on cable companies that are in that area. So, especially if you're going to like the big ones and saying Comcast or whatever.
It's the market.
Yeah, it's the market. Like, we can put them on there because we'll have people in that area that will watch. But now that's even changing it. Because of streaming.
From Rod Webb, Bear Force, he just added this to his, he's the one that sent me the link on the story. I'd seen it from Nicole Arbach. Sorry about that, Rod. I thought I had it. Think about it. Only the Pac-12 was talking about scheduling, if you think about it.
Kliavkoff was the main one talking about that. And then, Warren, I mean, hit or miss as far as what I saw him talk about. quite frankly. And it was mostly
the Pac-12 needed the alliance
yeah.
maybe more than anybody. But by adding, but again, it's slowed
I think
the process.
Again, they were the ones that kind of. I think that they were probably most at risk of maybe being the next to get poached, potentially. So, yeah, they did definitely need it. And I don't know if there was ever anything to, the potential of, there actually being big movement. But with their contract coming up and with, USC obviously has got to be looking around and looking at other brands and seeing what others are doing across the country and going, well, we don't want to get too far left behind. And they're not alone in that. Oregon, it's is also a brand that you could put up there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was chatter. At least if we have an opportunity, what would that look like? And the Pac-12 cut any of that off by getting into the schedule or getting into this alliance. And yeah, I guess Kliavkoff, it's not quite what he thought it was, and it's not quite what anybody except for I guess what Kevin Warren thought it was going to be, or Jim Swarbrick.
From the 360 on the text line, it's just my football IQ. I'm under the thinking that Oklahoma, scheduled in the SEC, will mirror Alabama's and always play the Pokes.
Jack, I mean.
360. There's a lot. There's still, decisions on whether Oklahoma and Oklahoma State keep playing. I know there's been discussion, or Texas Tech. You wonder, with how vicious right now Texas Tech and Texas in basketball, could that affect the athletic departments going forward if they wanted to play each other in non-conference football games in 2, 3, 4 years or longer? When we come back, Sam Weber, he is the Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Open Doors. They are almost like the motherlode when it comes to the NIL and developing relationships with athletes and businesses. Sam Weber and his thoughts about where we are now compared to when all this started. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Look, if you're a fan of high-end bourbons, that's where to go to get them. And I am a fan of high-end bourbons. Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. And Bardstown is some fancy stuff, man. That is high-end. I can't wait to go to that distillery one day. Can't wait. But they have it right there. You don't have to go to the distillery. You can just go right down to Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and get yourself a bottle of Bardstown and prove to your friends that you have expensive taste. They've got great customer service. Their drive-thru window is so fast, it'll make your head spin. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Save big during the President's Day sales event at Allen Samuels. The new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L has total values of $2,000. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop the new car inventory for power, performance, style, and reliability today from their huge new car and truck inventory only at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now's the time to drive the amazing Jeep Grand Cherokee L you want.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Open doors. We have discussed them. We have had members of their administration on the show. Sam Weber is one of them, and he joins us again, Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Open Doors, NIL, and much more on Sikkim 365 Radio. Sam, thank you for jumping on with us today. Has the NIL, and I know it's more than that, but has NIL exploded even more than you possibly could have dreamed?
That's a great question. I think it's exploded in ways that were unexpected. Whether or not the market is bigger than we originally anticipated, I don't know that we were too far off in that. Frankly, we're looking at something that's going to be close to $1 billion to student athletes in year one. It's only going to grow. But I think areas that have exploded that maybe we didn't anticipate are things like athletes giving back to charities and causes that they care about, really helping their communities, helping their fellow student athletes. It's been really cool and impressive to watch the maturity of these young men and women as this has become a reality for them.
Sam, how do you kind of rope in the effectiveness for a company, whether it's, because these weren't supposed to be recruiting inducements, and now it seems like they kind of are in a lot of respects for guys coming into schools. For if they invest in an athlete, how do you coach an athlete up to make sure that they get to keep that investment through their 4 years, 5 years in college and not get it and lose it?
Sure. So you're asking how can the athletes best perform their side of the agreement?
Yes.
Sure. I think so a lot of athletes are seeking outside support, whether that's from a company like Open Doors or from a more traditional avenue like an agent or even some of these NIL collectives that are popping up. They're helping to support athletes to make sure that their end of the agreement is filled to the T. And that's the best way really to market yourself ongoing as an athlete. If, say, local brands and businesses know that you're good on your end of the deal, that you're going to go above and beyond, then that word's going to spread. You're going to get more offers and you're going to find more success.
What has been maybe one of those most surprising aspects of seeing these NIL deals come together? Is there maybe a certain aspect of business that's been involved that you didn't expect, or the number of sports involved? Like, what's been one of the more surprising things?
Sure. I think something that you're seeing a lot more about in media in the last 1, 2, 3 weeks is the rise of these NIL collective groups.
Yeah.
Essentially, these groups of donors and program supporters that are working together to build a more sophisticated way to deliver opportunities to a school's student athletes. I think it's it goes without saying that there's going to be a collective at every Power 5 school in the country by the end of the year. And I would maybe be surprised if there isn't one at every Division I school, regardless of conference, by 2023. These have just become an incredibly efficient way for supporters to support their favorite athletes, their favorite teams. And it's going to be very difficult to compete in the recruiting landscape without one at your school.
Sam, I asked you about, has it gone, maybe exploded more than you thought? And I guess another question would be, you see the money being thrown around, or you at least hear the numbers, and we don't know how many of those are real, but it does appear to be some pretty staggering numbers. Has that in any way surprised you?
I would say the totality of the numbers has not. We knew there was a huge appetite, and it's only going to grow, right, as the market matures. There's brands, businesses, supporters, they're still learning how they can actually go out and build a deal, what they can do, how much it costs, where they go to do it. There's a big learning curve. I think the quantity of deals is fascinating to me. You're seeing athletes at across non-revenue generating sports, they have opportunities. You're seeing athletes at NAIA schools, D3 and D2 schools. They have opportunities. There's really been a groundswell of support as this market has kind of gained some traction and some understanding, and that's only going to grow.
Sam Weber, Open Door, Senior Director of Brand Marketing on 365 Sports.
You mentioned the getting involved in charities thing. How much is that not only kind of help this thing grow so that maybe companies that would not normally be involved in NIL can get in?
Sure. It's played a huge role from the athlete's perspective. It's a genius PR move and a genius way to market yourself. If you're talking to charities, if you're a quarterback at a Division I school that's likely in a place where they can earn significant NIL compensation, if you put out there that X% of your earnings are going to go to support a charity or a cause that you care about, that's a siren or a light to the rest of the local businesses that, hey, this is a kid that their beliefs align with ours, that we can support, that will then support our community or a cause that our business aligns with. It's really been impressive to see, and I think you'll see more and more student athletes going in that direction.
What are the agreements, Sam? And I've always been kind of intrigued by this. In that name and player team doesn't matter, but they get an endorsement. They get an NIL agreement. And they're there, for example, Quinn Ewers was at Ohio State, never played. He got NIL. And now he's at Texas and he's got NIL. Are there any type of contracts or agreements about what, and Paul kind of brought this up, the productivity, but is there any kind of agreement that they have to give some of that back if it doesn't work out?
I do not believe so, no. If it's directly tied to them stepping foot on the field for any school, then that crosses the line of pay for play and recruiting inducements. Of course, a brand could say once that athlete steps on campus, they can offer them a deal. But as far as any contract being executed before an athlete is at a school, so while they're a recruit or while they're in the transfer portal, if it can be deemed as a recruiting inducement, that's impermissible right now.
How much have you seen an imbalance, if any, based on where certain student athletes are coming from state-wise? Because obviously different states have different rules. Have you seen a noticeable advantage for states that maybe have a more wide open or no policy in effect versus those like the Texases, the Floridas, who maybe have what's considered maybe one of the more stringent?
Sure. It's becoming a hot topic. You're seeing states like Florida working to amend their current NIL legislation because of what you just said. It's more restrictive. It makes it more difficult for the school to provide the support that would really help the athlete. And then in states like Ohio that has looser restrictions, they're able to create a program, I believe theirs is called the NIL Edge, where their internal team can actually help these athletes pursue deals, fulfill opportunities, really providing support that is pretty important, especially as this market really is brand new for everyone and the athlete can use all the help they can get.
Have you seen coaches embrace this? I know they can't directly be involved, but as far as directing an athlete into the market or helping them, guide them, have you seen them do that?
Sure. From July 1 to today, there's been a big shift in tone from coaches across the country. I think there was a lot of skepticism, a lot of concern early on. What's this going to do to my locker room? What's this going to do to keep boosters and bad actors away from my kids? Ultimately, now you're seeing if coaches that don't embrace this are going to be left behind. They need to be providing, by what's allowed, they need to be providing the marketing and education and compliance support and be able to prove that to recruit at a competitive level in this landscape. And I think 99% of coaches, that's obviously an arbitrary number, but they are supportive of what's happening with NIL, the financial freedom that it can bring these student athletes and their families. Otherwise, frankly, they'll be dinosaurs.
Have you seen, and there have been some examples and people have kind of thought about it, but you mentioned about a recruiting or an inducement to come to the school. There have been some of those that have happened. I don't know, they all have to be legal because nothing's been done about it. But have you seen a couple that have gone right over that line a little bit, Sam? When it comes to, here's what we have, you come here and play for us and we give you X amount of money.
Sure. There have been a few that have been, I'm not going to name any. There have been a few that have been questionable in the wording that they've been put out there. There are ways that that brands or supporters can basically state their plans without directly offering an individual that makes it a little bit more above board, if you will. But yeah, there have been some cautionary tales, I would say, from the early days, but I'm not going to get into those.
Okay. Sam Weber, again, Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Open Doors on NIL and much more. And sometimes we take for granted in our audience, how did this all start with Open Doors? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our founders played football at the University of Nebraska about 10 years ago. When they were getting out of school, started a marketing agency, and one of their best friends, Prince Amukamara, was drafted in the first round by the New York Giants. Prince, basically overnight, he went from, no brand interest to playing in the largest media market in the world. His social media followers skyrocketed. He had brands, from local Lincoln businesses to large national advertisers like Adidas knocking on his door saying like, hey, let's do a deal. Let's complete a deal. And Prince needed help. He didn't know what to post on social media and when. He didn't know what deal to accept, what deals to ignore. And ultimately, when it came to fulfilling a deal, he was just a busy man as an NFL rookie, as many are. So we built a software to make it incredibly easy for him. So he would receive deal offers to his phone. He could review the deal. His agent could review the deal. If they wanted to take it, they press accept, a big green button, and then fulfill the terms of that contract. Once it's done, he gets paid right through his Open Door staff, and they go from there. Really, the foundation that existed back in 2013, 2012, it still exists today. It's just it's had 10 years of technology development and learning from there. So we've been really fortunate to play in this NIL space and really build the best possible tools for student athletes and supporters to succeed together today.
Sam, I was born at Offutt Air Force Base. My father, military. And I want you guys to start helping Nebraska a little bit more than you. They need some help. You know that, right? I was talking to Blake Lawrence about that. They need some help. Go find another 10 Prince of Makamuras if you can. I'm kidding, but I'm not. But
hey, I'm born and bred Nebraskan as well. We would take a few more princes any day.
Someone asked in the chat room, Daniel, do you foresee any federal legislation coming for NIL?
I think the short answer is not in the near term. Expecting NIL legislation to be a priority or something that Congress and the Senate can agree on in the near term feels unlikely. That's not to say it could never happen, no.
One more question, if you don't mind, from Joe. Is there any limit on the amounts, i.e. individual athletes can receive regarding NIL?
There's not. There could be amounts that raise red flags, of course. But basically, because there is no overarching NCAA or federal legislation policy, there's no way to govern what a fair market rate might be today. So ultimately, a fair market rate is what somebody's willing to pay you.
Yeah.
That really opens the door for all levels of compensation.
When you guys started this company 10 years ago and where it is now and what the NCAA allows now, or what they basically just were overrun, is amazing. Sometimes, you know what? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You guys, I'm not saying you're lucky, but my goodness, it seems like it's rolling for you. Congratulations.
You said it best. I appreciate it. It's been a fun ride, and it's going to get even better.
Thank you, Sam. Great stuff. Sam Weber, Open Door Senior Director of Brand Marketing. I was told by Jerry Gumbert back many, many years ago, I did a story, and it was awarded some things, honored with some things back in 1988. And I said, I got lucky with it because it was tugging the heartstrings and all that. And Odell Beckham Sr. was a part of it. And he said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And he didn't invent that. Somebody else like Shakespeare did. I don't know. But 10 years ago, they came up with that for Prince of Makamura, and think about how the mother load has shifted in the last 12 months. It's incredible.
It is the Roman philosopher Seneca.
There you go. Played quarterback at Iowa State.
Yeah, it's cool software. I mean, it looks like a really easy, nice looking setup that they have for the technology that they use, and seems like it's pretty simple for the athlete to be able to get on their app or whatever and get it all done. And yeah, I mean, cool to get their perspective on it. I mean, they're raking in money with all these deals. I mean, not them in particular, but they are eventually getting some of it by using the Open Doors software and platform. But yeah, I mean, they were right place, right time, and right ideas before it all hit the fan, so to speak, and they're definitely one of the benefactors of it. The athletes more so than anybody. But yeah, it's been interesting to see how this has all developed over the last year. And there were those who said the game was going to die, and I don't know, it seems about the same as it always was, quite frankly. It's just more cheating on the surface than there was initially, and that's really the biggest difference. I'm sure if you were on the ground with the athletes, you might notice that the volleyball player suddenly has a way nicer car than she would have otherwise. Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, everything seems to be pretty much the same. And look, there are a lot of athletes driving super nice cars they couldn't afford to begin with anyways over on various campuses. So that's not even that different. Now it's just more, on the up and up, if anything.
Yeah, you don't even blink now.
Look, now
they at least earned it.
And now it's worth it for the people giving them the car too, because they can get something out of it.
Yep. Before you had it here's a car.
Yeah, or they could make it legal where I'm going to lease Craig Smoak, my incoming quarterback, a car. I'm going to lease it because I own the dealership, Paul Catalina Super Seminole Motor Company. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to lease him the car for $5 a month. I can do that. It's a lease. Yeah. It's legal. Now, if Emory comes to me and says, I heard Craig got a $5 lease, I'd be like, yeah, Craig's the quarterback of the team. You're just Emory. You can, pay $400 a month like everybody else on this lease. So that stuff can be over now, and it can be mutually beneficial for both parties.
The biggest example and the easiest one is this Big Red Motors with Adrian Peterson and Rhett Bomar. They were pretending to have jobs as Oklahoma football players. They were not actually performing at all. They were not real employees, but they were paid like they were employees, and there's this whole charade. And, Adrian Peterson was leasing cars from this place, and I doubt he was paying probably very much on them. I don't know. And, now they would just have Adrian Peterson and Rhett Bomar on their commercials, and it would all be free and clear and no question about it.
Rattler.
Yeah, and Rhett Bomar never would have been booted off of OU's football team and went on the journey that he went on to Sam Houston and the NFL for a bite. And, I don't know, Adrian Peterson's journey probably would have been pretty much the same, quite frankly, except for he would have made way more money. And that would certainly be helping him these days, if he had made the money that he could have in college. And then again, maybe that would all be gone too. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, that's all it really is we don't have to pretend like Big Red Motors is really paying Rhett Bomar and Adrian Peterson to, wash cars and get them on the lot. And now they're just do a commercial, get your pay, or not even do a commercial. Just say you're a spokesperson and get your pay and play for Oklahoma. And that's all it is, really.
No, you're right. And now you wonder about if you were to have, Paul, the top 5 businesses, like what professions would be lead the way when it comes to money. now because you have all these, what did he call them, these collectives or whatever they're doing. But it used to be car dealerships, I would think. I would think maybe law firms, because you could have somebody as an intern.
Boy, Miami or in the 80s could have really done some big law firm commercials.
You know, back you couldn't do restaurants would, but now you can. But it's top 5 professions who now would lead the way, because right now you could be somebody who's you could be a real estate guy.
Well, I mean, that's the real estate wouldn't be a bad one. Look, if I was a big, gigantic real estate firm, especially commercial real estate or something like that, I'm in.
I don't think you have to be big,
but I mean, or enough to where you make it worth your while to have an endorser. But if I was in Norman and I was the big realtor in Norman, why would I not say, like, you know,
which is Bob Stoops? No, she's Mary Kay, right?
But but if I was that, I'd be like, why would I not have, now Dylan Gabriel come out and be like, hey, listen, my home was found by these guys. It makes sense, because you're not going. The other thing about some of these places, why it makes it worthwhile, is if you want, that kind of good celebrity endorsement dollar to go kind of far, if you're, Joe Smith Realty in Norman, Oklahoma, you're not getting Emmett Smith or something like that. You're not getting a current big name. But if you got
it can make a difference in helping you. If you got a guy that's a Heisman Trophy winner or someone like that who has a big year, like what Spencer Rattler, do you think he helped that dealership much?
In the long run this year, no.
No.
In fact, why would he have?
Some people may have turned on him. West Virginia would be in trouble, according to Joey, with NIL if it wasn't for Oliver Luck and the owner of the Diamondbacks, who is a West Virginia alum. They came up with a great platform for West Virginia players.
Yeah, I mean, they were, I guess, the school's not really supposed to help facilitate that, right?
Right.
So why is Oliver, that's the first thing that jumps out to me is why is he... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the school's not supposed to be involved.
Is he still their athletic director?
I don't think he is. No. So maybe no, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because he went off to Vince and okay. Yeah, I'm getting backwards.
He's been involved in these leagues. He's been
I know. Just getting my times confused. But yeah, I mean these collectives have been the big things now. I mean, and if, like he said, if your school doesn't have one, they're going to have one soon enough. I know Tech just announced whatever their Hearts for Home, Horns, 50,000 for linemen, type of deal is going to be. And I think Baylor, launched something, and this school's launched. I mean, they're all launching something. So you're almost, if you don't have one, you're on the outside looking in at this point, and you're going to have one to be able to compete. And even still, I'm sure that by the time everybody gets one, then some other big school will already have found their new way of bending the system, because that's just what college athletics does. There will be somebody else to find some loophole that exploits it even more that they can use to their advantage, and then everybody follows suit, and then somebody finds another loop. You know what I'm saying? And that's just... It's keeping up with the Joneses, and if you want to do that right now, you got to have a collective and be ready to march on NIL, and if not, then you could suffer from it in recruiting and on the field.
I was surprised when we had Mac and we got a break because we're well behind in this first hour, but thanks to Mr. Weber for coming on from Open Doors to kind of set things up for us, and it's been a lot of questions. I thought it was time. Is when Mac said he had over 300 or so, whatever it was, as far as NIL agreements. I know Sikkim365.com in the premium section, there's a Sikkim365.com plus that is about premium membership plus. We have done things with Jaron McVay, with Al Walcott. There are some NIL things that are a part of that. So it's out there. And like you said, if you want to turn your head, then you're going to be behind very, very rapidly. All right, we'll come back.
Hold on. Tim said, make all players be at the school for at least a year before they can collect any NIL money, and he basically shut that down, right? I mean, he said there's no.
It's not. It has nothing to do with the school, really.
Yeah, it's not school involved. It's the player and it's the business, and then maybe Open Doors in between, or whoever else is involved. But yeah, the school can't really enforce anything like that. So Tim, I mean, it's a nice idea. You'd like it if. Or Ohio State, and you at least have Quinn Ewers on campus for a full year before he bolts, but yeah, not legal. I'm about to sneeze. So, but yeah, they just can't enforce that, basically, Tim. But that's part of the risk that you take when you sign these deals to begin with. There's a possibility that they might not or might not result in you gaining any money. In fact, you might lose money, and that's the case for whoever signed up Quinn Ewers for sure.
Like anything else with an endorsement. By the way, when we come back, Baylor lost a commitment to the class of, I think, 2023, might even be 2024. They had 2 commitments, remember, from players from Dangerfield. Now they have none. We'll come back with that information. I just had the coach at Dangerfield help me out with that as well, and I just saw that it's being reported by others who cover Baylor and Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The city of Woodway, they have the Carleen Bright Arboretum, and it is gorgeous. Huge windows, massive landscaping all around, beautiful, gorgeous landscape. And I know it's kind of a time where there's not a lot going on, but they still have constant trees and bushes and flowers and more, and it's for an event. What kind of event? It could be a banquet. It could be for a gala. It could be for a fundraiser. It could be for a wedding. It could be for a rehearsal dinner. It could be for some sort of business meeting, and it's fantastic. Seats up to 360 people. They also allow, the Carleen Bright Arboretum allow you to bring in your own catering companies if you want to, and they have an audio-visual display that all the equipment you need to make sure it's not one of those where you turn on the mic and you can barely hear somebody in one section of the room. It is fantastic. I've been in it for various events, and they do a great job. It's available for you. Very unique. It's the Carleen Bright Arboretum. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McLennan County Judge Campaign.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Very quick segment here. We'll have Carlos Silva Jr., Lubbock Avalanche Journal in Lubbock. Texas Tech hosting Baylor tonight, 8 o'clock tip. And, of course, Texas Tech won that first game and really good, looking good doing it. They were down double digits early, about, midway, two-thirds of the way through the first half, and then here comes Mark Adams, and they sent a message, and they are playing 8-4. Baylor is 9-3. Kansas at 10-2, and Texas in fourth at 8-5. Said Zach Taylor got a contract extension for the Bengals. Joe Burrow, the good news, we mentioned this yesterday, but no surgery on that knee. But also no surgery on a pinky finger, that he suffered a pretty bad injury back during the middle of the year. Now, Baylor got 2 commitments from 2 high school players out of Daingerfield, Texas. It's a struggle for me because it used to be a lot of fun to get young men on, high school players, whatever sport, when they committed to a school, no matter where they went. Not just Baylor. Any high school kid locally that's committed, we want them. It just changes so much now, the decommitments, and that's fine. Jacavian Rogers, sophomore defensive back at Daingerfield, also a wide receiver. It's a 3A school. And then earlier, Aaron Hampton, a tremendous player, also was committed to Baylor. He committed to Texas. And now Jacavian Rogers has announced that he is decommitting from Baylor. And we had him on. And it's a struggle for me going forward. And it's not because of this, because Baylor gets decommitments from other schools as well. But it's changed so much that it's just kind of almost like the excitement of committing. Is there really excitement?
I've been over interviewing recruits for a while now, to be perfectly honest with you, for this very reason. I know why we do it from time to time, and certain guys you get a better feel for and feel like, hey, yeah, this is a guy that's going to end up where he said he's going to end up. And then there's other guys that if you had said for either 2 of those players, let's interview them, what do you think? I would have probably said, no, let's not, because for one, it's way too far out. Even though they are, upcoming signees. I mean, it's February. It's February. And when you had Aaron Hampton, who was committed for what I think was like 2 days, basically. I mean, it was longer than that, but not by much. That just was a big red flag to me right away. And when I saw the response from Texas writers in particular, who were shocked by that news, it made me a little bit curious to see how long it would last, quite frankly, because I don't know, man. I've just followed recruiting long enough to get feelings about certain things. And so when these guys committed, you do the whole song and dance and it's great and all that, but I was never all in and fully believing that these 2 were going to end up at the end of the road with Baylor. I wasn't. Like the other guys, I haven't really had any much of a thought about. But the Daingerfield guys, because of, in part, the reaction from Texas writers who are very well invested with these guys compared to us, obviously. Oh, yeah. That was kind of an alarm. And then, just the whole NIL deal and all of that, I never got a really good feeling. And then Aaron Hampton, I mean, I'll look, but he was committed for like 3 weeks or something. It was ridiculous. And Jacavian Rogers is 2 months. 2 months you were committed. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know.
Imagine how you were looking at it, or how other schools, and every school gets decommitments, some less than others. And imagine this. Imagine if you're the coaches recruiting these young men. I mean, it's part of the drama.
But that's, I'll go, but this is now 6 years ago now. But we had a recruit on who was the second guy to commit after Jalen Petrie in the Baylor class of what was
2016,
whatever it was.
17.
Yeah, 17. And I said, well, what made you commit here? And he said, the coaches. And I was like,
You didn't say it on the air.
But I was like, and I was frozen. I had no
Why were
idea
you frozen?
I had no idea how to respond
Why
to
were you
him.
frozen?
Because the coaches were all leaving.
They're all leaving.
They're
yeah.
all leaving. 100% of them left.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, did they not tell him that? Or did he do this without telling him? And it was such a weird thing. And then ever since then, you kind of listen keenly to what guys are saying. Or, I mean, heck, one of those guys that we had on before all this went down was he went to Auburn. Great kid.
Oh, my God.
Cam Martin.
Cam Martin got a Baylor tattoo and said there's nothing that can change that. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, Bryles was fired.
So he had to change that tattoo.
Yeah,
So
and that was one of my favorite personalities ever. And I
mean, he's different, though. Like, that guy only did not sign because Bryles got fired. Like, that was he had a Baylor tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, he was coming.
He was going to be at Baylor, and then, like, the unforeseeable happened with just a massive switchover that there was. But yeah, I mean, it's just part of the deal. You know, NIL, I think, is going to come into play. I'm not saying that specifically for these guys. I do think it probably is playing a role, though. I feel pretty strongly about that. But I think it's just the pull of recruiting as well, just the typical things pre-NIL that are tempting. And, you know, guys make decisions and then they back off of them for one reason or another. I don't know here, but I am not surprised in any shape or form. I'm not surprised at all. Once Aaron Hampton decommitted, I didn't think the Jacavian Rogers look, I've never even talked to the young man, but I don't even feel like I really need to. You can just again, I've watched these recruiting battles for long enough to just get a sense sometimes of that one's a bit iffy, and that always felt iffy, and so today's not a surprise.
But he was one that seemed like he was going to be. I mean, I'm just telling you, and I'm naive as hell. And you guys both know that I thought it sounded like he was going to be one of the godfathers of that class. So that's okay. There's plenty of time. If you don't want to play defense, doesn't mean you can go anywhere. He might go to Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Michigan. I don't know. But if you are a defensive player and you are interested in improving who you are and where you go, then playing for Dave Aranda and his staff and Ron Roberts and his staff is a pretty damn good option. But to each his own. It's his career, not ours. And
we don't know what the reasons are, and we don't know. I mean, shoot, if he got offered $100,000 to play at school X, then and we're not privy to that information, then okay,
he's
it probably
a sophomore.
Does make and that's the other thing. It's so far out, but yeah, maybe that plays into it. I'm sure there's been some type of discussion like that, but yeah, I just again, I'm not surprised. Didn't get a great feeling to begin with, and it's just really hard when you get as many early commitments as they've gotten. Right now, I think them and Tech are pretty far ahead in 2023 because of the number of commitments that they have. That'll all even out ultimately when OU and Texas start to add to their pile. But when you get early commitments like that, I mean, this is the risk that you run is the hardest part is holding on to them. And they could not hold on to the Dangerfield guys for very long at all. And, it is what it is.
When we come back, we head to Lubbock. Carlos Silva Jr., Lubbock Avalanche Journal on tonight's game. And there will be an atmosphere. You know it. Texas Tech host Baylor, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr's got both new and pre-owned vehicles available right now for you on their lot, and they've got new cars and trucks arriving daily as well, so make sure to get your name on that inbound vehicle list over at Richard Carr right now so that you can get your car or truck as soon as they arrive. And they've got a lot of great deals right now. If you're looking for trucks, they've got the GMC Sierra. Sierra's in stock with more on the way. Get 0% for 72 months for qualified buyers. Sierra's got a big 277 horsepower engine, best-in-class cargo bed volume, plenty of head and leg room, a luxury interior, and a ride that compares to a luxury sedan. And that's just one of their offerings if you're in the mode for a new car or truck. If you're looking for an SUV, well, they've got 11 different models, dozens of trim options as well, and they are a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs. They've got the Buick Encores, they've got the Cadillac Escalades, they've got the SUV you need, whatever make, model, and trim, and of course, they've got lots of options, like I said, for you as well. And if you're not looking to buy new, they do have premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection, and they have over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today. As 100% credit approval is always their goal, so go online or come by for a test drive today. Trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Get your name on that inbound vehicle list to get your new car or truck soon as they arrive, or check out the deals on the used cars and trucks as well, because there are plenty of those. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Cryer from the corner. And it rattles home.
Wow. Get a TO, baby.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Texas Tech was good, and then they came to Waco and beat Baylor and handed the Bears their first loss after a 15-0 start, and then jumped right on top of the national map. I know just, 2 or 3 years ago they had that team in the championship and all that, but that kind of sent a message. Then they beat Kansas, and they host Baylor tonight inside their big arena, and we're joined by Carlos Silva, Lubbock Avalanche Journal. I can't imagine anything can ever be fever pitch like it was with Chris Beard in Texas in town, but are they lit up right now already, Carlos, for tonight?
I would certainly say they're a little revved up, and I think it helps the fact that they beat TCU at home and the fact that they're undefeated at home. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the game is sold out. So I would imagine the fervor for this fan base is starting to get to a fever pitch, just in the sense that March is looming. They kind of realize, there's still a chance at a Big 12 regular season title if things kind of go their way. Obviously, a lot of things have to kind of turn, but certainly getting a win over Baylor would be a huge help for them in that sense.
What do you think? How do you think they approach Baylor tonight, knowing that Baylor will have to play a different style with the injuries they have, particularly Jonathan Tchamwa out?
Well, I asked Coach Adams about that. He said the biggest thing is they may not kind of play through the inside out, and they may be playing through the perimeter. They've got a lot of guards, like a LJ Cryer, if he's able to play following his injury. He's one of their better three-point shooters. You obviously have James Akinjo as well, Adam Flagler. I mean, you can go down the list with all the type of guards that Baylor possesses that can shoot the three. And not only that, but then you got some bigs that can shoot threes too. So I think that's the other thing that Mark is very, very cautious about when he talks about allowing three-pointers with this defense. I know that the big one that really kind of hurt them was going on the road to Oklahoma. Then all of a sudden you have Emoji Gibson, go for 30. That's certainly something he doesn't want to have happen tonight, but I think the guys will be locked in. But I think one important factor, and I'm sure you guys have already talked about it, but if Kevin McCullough's able to play, is he going to be at 100%? I doubt it, but certainly he would be available. If he is available, I certainly think he would help with that perimeter defense.
Well, Carlos, I was going to ask you about McCullough, but outside of him, because you just updated that, how is Tech health-wise outside of McCullough?
Well, after I tweeted this, a lot of Tech fans came after me, but they're about as healthy as they've been so far. And then right after I tweeted that, Kevin McCullough steps on Jamie Dixon's foot. So obviously I'm not the best luck charm for the Texas Tech fans, and I'm sure that they'll be happy when I mention this again. But, I mean, when you look at what Texas Tech has had to go through, Terrence Shannon missed in the first 3 games because he went to the NBA draft, came back. They had to make sure everything was good for him. Then he still had the ankle injury, back spasms, and then, of course, Kevin McCullough got hurt. You've had Malik Wilson out with a minor knee surgery. He seems to be okay in terms of, just his confidence going to the basket. His passing ability is finally getting put on display. I think that's certainly something that Mark Adams has been looking for, is a true point guard, which is what Kevin McCullough's been playing. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing to kind of watch tonight, is who's going to be the guy that holds the ball, who's going to be the guy that is going to lead our team in assists, because that's what Kevin McCullough's led them in so far this year.
All right. Now, what did that win in Waco mean, in your opinion, for the confidence of who they are now and who they've been since?
Oh, it's funny you asked that, because I asked Mark that, but he certainly thought it was a confidence factor if we can win on the road, because that was one of the big things, is can you win on the road? And they won on the road. Not only that, but they snapped a 21-game home winning streak for Baylor, which was something that was obviously mentioned throughout the country. And not only that, but then he even mentioned after the win at West Virginia, he said his team kind of realized that you just have to keep on playing good defense. Don't play outside of what you should in terms of the game plan for the specific team, and you will eventually get yourself back. You will, no matter what the circumstances are, whether that's Terrence Shannon going down, coming back, scoring 7 points in that second half to help beat West Virginia, or if you're down 15 twice in the first half and you just chip away, continue to play defense and keep yourself in there. I think that's the biggest thing that Texas Tech has learned, is that they're never out of a game if they play good defense. But the thing is you just have to play almost close to perfect to kind of do that. And certainly if you look back at the Oklahoma loss, that's one where they got close, but then all of a sudden you have one bad defensive possession, you give up a 3, and then everything's kind of back to what it was. Whereas Baylor, they were able to play, I want to say, as close to perfect. They had guys step up like a Davion Warren, didn't have any points, made 2 clutch free throws.
Yep.
Adonis Arms had one of his better games. And then this is also a game, I think we kind of alluded to it, guys, but Terrence Shannon didn't play in that first game either. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that Texas Tech has been figuring out. And I think one of the big things is if they are healthy or getting healthier, how are guys going to figure out the roles that were probably going to be assigned to them early on in the year, but they've had to change because of all these injuries or guys being out to either COVID or kind of all those other things.
How big is this 2-game stretch for them? Baylor and Texas as far as emotions and really putting their stamp on who they could be in March?
I think certainly the team that they could be in March is in a question they could answer. I think certainly they want to try and stay in that third seed because I think every team that is in Texas is vying for that the Fort Worth spot. Texas Tech would certainly enjoy that because the last time they made a run to the NCAA tournament, they did go through Fort Worth. They had a huge crowd there. And I think they do enjoy playing in front of a rowdy atmosphere, especially when you think you're typically on the road. But if you got some fans really hollering for you, that just energized them. And I think that really pushed them in those first two games of that NCAA tournament run where maybe they weren't playing to their best, but the fans kind of got them through that. But I think from an emotional standpoint, I think it's going to be good for them just to get over that. Okay, we've already played Chris Beard. Now it's just going on the road, and can we get a big road win? I think this Baylor win is going to be huge just because of the fact that if you're able to get a season sweep over Baylor, that's good. But I certainly think getting the road victory at Texas is going to be a little bit more, noticeable from the country because a road win is a little bit more than a home win. But certainly, I'm sure Mark Adams would say, just like every other player, they want to win both.
Yeah, you'd love to ask Texas Tech fans, who would you rather beat, Baylor tonight at home or win at Texas? And I think the Chris Beard factor still is there. So that would be interesting if you could only win one of those two. And hell, they're good enough to win both. And again, you got to be careful with both. I remember Bryson Williams seemed to be clutch. You mentioned Warren. I was going to bring him up, the 2 free throws at the end. I thought Bryson Williams, arms posterized Matthew Meyer on a dunk, if I remember as well. And one thing that stood out to me as well is Tech shot 50% from the field in that game against which is also supposed to be, like Tech, a very stingy defense that's hard to score on. So that was also something they did incredibly well.
Oh, no, absolutely. And if you really think about it, you look at what they were able to do when they won the national title. They were using that side no-middle defense that Mark Adams was trying to perfect. It's just they had the guys to run it. And, of course, as you all know, a lot of those guys are playing in the NBA. So you had a lot of talent at the guard position last year. And certainly you still have that talent now. But as you all know, injuries can kind of change things, as you mentioned with the Chamba Chachwa, especially a season ender. It's one of those things. And not only that, but then is L.J. Cryer going to play? Because L.J. Cryer played a huge role in that previous game. He had 10 points and he had a couple threes there. That could open up the Mark Adams defense and maybe help Baylor, spread them out a little bit more if he is able to play. And I think those, just along with having guys that can step up, I think that's the one thing that Texas Tech needs to figure out right now is, do you have a go-to scorer right now? I would have to say it's Bryson Williams right now just because they feel so comfortable with him. He's been a consistent scorer once the Big 12 conference play started. But I think you're trying to look and see if Terrence Shannon can get back to that slasher form to where he gets to the basket, draws a foul, makes the free throw, and then all of a sudden the other team is trying to, try and figure out, okay, well, we can't get into foul trouble. And then all of a sudden you have Bryson Williams who's able to score and do almost the same thing from the low block. And not only that, but then he's one of their better three-point shooters, which is something Mark Adams was wondering if they could do. I think that's really the biggest thing for Tech is they've got to figure out their roles, but the health factor is certainly going to be a huge thing for Texas Tech going forward.
Lincoln Floyd in the chat room said, I'm a Tech alum here, 100%. If I could only win one of the next two, beat Texas and Austin. Again, I'm not saying they won't win both, but that's from a Tech guy as well. Craig?
This is not basketball. I guess it kind of is basketball related in some ways, Carlos, but the Matador Club. Tell us about Texas Tech entering the NIL collective business, or I guess not Texas Tech directly, right? But Texas Tech alums getting involved in the collective side of things, which has become quite popular now in college athletics.
Oh, no, absolutely. And then you look at the new agreement that enables Tech players to just profit from jersey sales. I think that's going to be a huge thing because I know that's something I'm sure even Baylor fans have been clamoring for is, well, why can't we get some of their jerseys? And now this possibility, along with the NIL Matador Club that you kind of mentioned, is going to allow Tech fans to not only support the program, but then help some of these players that do opt into these NIL deals. But I think the one thing about the NIL collective is just that they're just trying to stick with the kind of what we were talking about, the race to be great, if you will. At one time it was who has a facility, who has the most things with their facilities. Now it's what can you offer with NIL? Is it trying to get the best press? Is it trying to, find a good number to where a kid feels like, okay, I'm going to be helped while I'm in college, and not only that, but then, make my brand throughout this whole time. And I think that's the biggest thing. And not only that, but then it's by a bunch of Tech supporters like Cody Campbell and Terry Fuller, John Sellers, and Gary Peterson, among others. They're guys that have been supporting Tech forever, and I think this is something that it's just going to show that all the supporters of Tech are really coming together and realizing they can do something special if all of their minds are put together and they realize that there's one objective, which is to make sure that Tech is at the forefront of athletics. And they certainly have done that over the last couple of years and even the last couple of months with some of the donations that have been coming.
Carlos, it should be fun. And obviously that place, as you mentioned, will be packed like sardines. And at a fervor pitch, they beat Baylor in Waco, 65-62. Baylor had a shot, wasn't a very good one, I think, by Akinjo. He had some pressure around him in 65-62. And now, seemed like that game's forever ago. Baylor was 15-0 at the time. Doesn't it seem? And I guess it was. It wasn't like last week, but it did seem like that was just a long, long time ago, and so much has happened since then.
Well, heck, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys remember back in the day when Iowa State was ranked and undefeated as well, right?
Yeah, I do remember that. And that was that was a while ago now at this point. Yeah, absolutely.
All of our Iowa State listeners and viewers just hung up on us. That's way to go, Carlos. No, I'm kidding. Great stuff. We appreciate all your knowledge and insight. Enjoy the night. I know you will. It should be a hell of a game. ESPN2, 8 o'clock tip, Texas Tech hosting Baylor. Tech trying to stay unbeaten, wanting to stay unbeaten at home. And no question, Mark Adams in the discussion for men's basketball coach of the year, not just in the Big 12, but also possibly around the country as well.
Yeah, I got a little coaching news I want to get to here in a second. And I know Carlos mentioned it there, and this brings me to something I've been wanting to say for a while. I really hope that, and this is not like directly on Tech, I want to make that very clear, but he rehashed it in my head when he mentioned a certain name. I really hope we don't get to start to know names of people who are like the behind the scenes NIL people. Like, I know from time to time we're going to hear it, but like, I don't want them to be something like in the grand scheme of college sports. You know what I don't want to talk about them like I talk about Mac Rhodes or the Baylor starting quarterback or the quarterback's coach. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't want to.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to know booster names.
Well, look,
you know what I mean?
Now, Nevin Shapiro was running a pyramid scheme, but I don't want to know the other Nevin Shapiros.
Right, the guys who aren't on the forefront. Like, I know there's certain Baylor donors that we're gonna know, like some of them just because, hey, their name's on the stadium. Like, that's going to happen. But in terms of, like, working NIL deals, I don't want to know any of that. I don't want any part of that kind of deal.
I never even thought about that. I now that you mention it, yeah, I think that's...
Like, the collectives and stuff's cool, but I don't want to start getting to know, like, individuals involved that are just basically big alumni. You know what I'm saying?
What you don't want to do is, let's just use this. Gary Bohannon, starting quarterback for Baylor, whose NIL deal was with Bill Smith, who's a construction worker in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Is that, it's...
Well, no, I don't want to hear like, well, Bill Smith was talking with Mac Rhodes. Like, I don't want that to become like another storyline.
You don't want it to be like, oh, well,
I don't want them to
Baylor's
be
not going to get this guy. Oh, call Bill Smith. He'll make it happen. Yeah, you don't want that.
I just don't want to talk about boosters like we talk about players and coaches.
Yeah.
Some boosters are going to force it down your throat.
No, I know that. Yeah. And I'm not, and again, it's not directly about anybody, but, like he said, what was the name he said there? Cody Campbell. Campbell. I feel like I've heard that name like 15 times in the last 2 months, and it just made me go like, huh. I wonder if we're going to start like knowing people that we never would have known otherwise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jace Pierce said on the chat room, "Oh, trust me, Tillman Fertitta wants his name out there."
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah,
and his name's on things too, though.
Yes,
it's like Drayton McClain. His name is on the stadium. He would rather it not be on the stadium.
He tried to figure out a way for it not to be.
Baylor should be. And that's not the only thing. And there's others that are on, their names are on buildings. And I think that's cool because you're putting money into something that's being built because of the money that you've contributed. It's a little bit different to me than that compared to NIL deals. And I might change my mind. I was like, oh my God, NIL is never going to happen. And here we are. It's full throttle.
Yeah, no, this is not even anti-NIL. It's just me saying, like, if there's a set of trading cards that we have, like the things that we talk about, right? And there's like the stack of the players, and there's the stack of the coach. I don't want a stack of boosters that we talk about. And I know we're not going to have like a segment about a booster. I'm just saying that like now we're starting to hear names that are like becoming commonplace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird to me.
Okay.
And that wasn't meant to be like some emotional spiel either. It's just like I I don't want that. I don't want that. And that's just me, though, maybe.
Might be something we can ask Mac about at some point down the road. He should be back with us next week.
I don't know. As I talk about it, I feel like I don't make sense. Like, because you do mention, like, Nevin Shapiro, although I don't know, we were talking about him before he got in trouble, really. And we know about, like, Drayton McClain. Like, we know boosters' names, but I don't know. I feel like it's becoming too much a part of the actual discussion. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. I guess not.
Well, you're talking about guys who are a part of the NIL. You don't want to know all the boosters' names who are a part of the NIL.
Yeah, I just don't want like a new cast of characters that are all NIL related that are suddenly in the conversation along with coaches, players, and just the game itself that we're talking about.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice just to talk about football?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying in some ways.
When we come back, Villanova had a nice win, a high-scoring game with Providence in a showdown at Dunkin' Donuts Arena. I think that it maybe even called something different than that. Villanova beat Providence in a matchup of two top 10 teams, 89-84. And Joe Juliano, retired Philadelphia Inquirer writer, will join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com, inside the Central Texas marketplace, just on the southern part of Waco off I-35. It will help find out what hurts you so much that it shuts you down. It might be a torn ligament, might be a muscle, it might be both, it could be everything else in between. For example, you could have a torn rotator cuff, but also a detached bicep. You could have a torn ACL, but you could also have something else with your kneecap or perhaps posterior cruciate ligament. And so, if in fact your doctor, and a lot of times doctors can look at your knee, like for example, unfortunately with Jonathan Chamachachua, you can look at the knee, doctors kind of know, yep, this is most likely an ACL. But you still want the evidence. And that's what MRIs can do. And that's what Ideal MRI can do. Find out what hurts, that you can't work, you can't sleep, you can't function, you can't think. And on top of that, save you a ton of money, $497 or less every single time. When I first heard that a few years ago, I go, there's no way. And there is a way. And they'll help you with insurance. And it's never more than $497. In fact, it could be less. IdealMRI.com.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McLennan County Judge Campaign.
Truck Month started early at Allen Samuels. You could get a 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,500 or as little as 0% for 72 months. This month, first responders get an extra $500. Come see why Ram continues to win awards year after year. Take home power, performance, and reliability, and shop the huge new car and truck inventory in stock today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Mentioned tonight, Texas Tech hosting Baylor. Last night there was an amazing atmosphere, and we've also, of course, discussed Texas Tech when they hosted Texas, and the game tonight will have an amazing atmosphere in Lubbock. But inside the Dunkin' Donuts Arena, Villanova, Providence, top 10 teams. Villanova number 10, Providence number 8, the Friars, and the Wildcats ended up winning 89-84. Joe Juliano, retired Philadelphia Inquirer writer, covered Villanova for years, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. I know that you weren't actually at the game last night, but you did watch the game, and you know that place. How crazy was it inside that center?
Oh, I can imagine it. It just had to be like absolutely crazy. I mean, they get way up for Villanova anyway. Whenever Villanova comes in, because obviously they're the big dog in the Big East. They've won 6 regular season titles in 7 years and 2 national championships, and everybody wants a shot at them. And so I can just imagine how loud it was. And learning from experience how probably profane it was, because they somebody once said to me, I said, "Why is this crowd always so nasty?" He says, "Well, they sell beer the whole game." So I guess that might have something to do with it. But I know it was nuts, and Villanova's used to those environments. Of course, they played at Baylor in December, another loud environment, and they didn't handle that very well, as we all remember. But last night they handled it well and came out with a victory, and now everybody's saying again that the road to a Big East title goes through Villanova.
Well, Nova had that stretch after Baylor, and they had a little bit of a rough stretch. What has turned around for them since that Baylor game kicked off kind of a rough road for them for a short time?
Well, I think it's just a matter of the way Jay Wright wants his team to play. They've done well defensively. I mean, you mentioned the Baylor game, also the game against Creighton, which was the game right after that. They lost that by 19. So, it was one of those things where, they just had to get back to the drawing board and kind of, iron things out, especially offensively. Defensively, they've played well. I mean, it didn't show last night. I mean, Providence scored 84 points, and they'd been giving up, Villanova's been giving up 62. So that wasn't exactly a masterpiece, but they're learning how to play together a little better. They have some young kids they're bringing off the bench that really haven't played all that much, and so they're learning how to get together. And I think the big key to last night's game, it seems like in every game this year they've had a 4-minute drought, where they just can't seem to hit the broadside of a barn. And last night they really didn't have that, and it was because whenever they needed a basket in the first half, Justin Moore provided it, and whenever they needed a basket in the second half, Colin Gillespie provided it. So there were no big droughts, and I think that had a lot to do with the victory.
Yeah, and the thing I saw when I was watching, and I was like, my God, their offense looks fine. 89-84, and obviously they had the historically bad day against Baylor in Waco where they were held under 40 points. That's Baylor. At the time, they were really playing great, and also their defense. But Gillespie's a guy, is he kind of the straw that stirs the drink, or you mentioned Moore as well?
Oh, well, I think Gillespie is the guy because he came back for the COVID year, so he's a fifth-year senior. And, he knows everything inside out and backwards. I mean, he played on the national championship team in 2018, so he got an idea right then and there what Jay Wright wants out of his team. And, everybody else has to buy in, and they've done that. Now, they've had success. They haven't won any national championships since then, but they're, they know what has to be done, and Colin Gillespie is the perfect guy to lead them. I mean, the guy suffered a pretty bad sprained ankle in the UConn game about 10 days ago, and then came back and played against St. John's, although didn't score, came up with 10 rebounds and just, gutted it out. I mean, he was far from 100% in that game. And then last night he just, continued to battle, and after a while, I guess the adrenaline takes over. And if you don't have any adrenaline playing in that atmosphere last night, I think you might be unconscious or something. But, he really showed that, the leadership, the tenacity, the toughness that, Jay Wright likes in his players. And Jay had a good quote in his interview after the St. John's game. He said, we're going to be telling stories about this guy for a long, long time.
Do you see this team being able to crack into that Final Four like some of their championship teams?
Well, they have holes. I mean, I can't stand here and say, well, yeah, they're on their way now. I mean, they don't have a big man, not a big shot blocking presence, not a lot of depth in the front court. And last night, Providence scored 50 points in the paint. They had 25 2-point baskets, and every basket was scored in the paint. Drives to the hole, that they couldn't really stop. And I think that's the problem they had. I mean, it was the same way against Baylor. I mean, guys drove to the hole against Villanova, and they had no way to stop them. And I think that's a continuing, I don't want to say weakness, but it's a continuing problem that they're going to have to address as they finish up the season. I mean, there's 4 games left on their Big East schedule, then the Big East tournament, then the NCAAs, and they're really going to have to learn how to turn that around. And offensive rebounding is also an issue there. They give up too many offensive rebounds to Providence last night, and that's something that they will address and have addressed. But last night, Providence just did them one better under the offensive board.
Joe, as we get down to the nitty-gritty here in the stretch run, I mean, obviously Providence and Villanova doing well. How do you kind of view the rest of the Big East with the tournament around the corner?
Well, it's amazing how balanced it is. I mean, when Marquette beat Villanova twice, you figured, well, they're going to be a great team. They're going to, probably challenge for the Big East regular season championship. And Marquette lost 2 games last week, and I think it surprised everybody. I don't know if they were just on this incredible cloud that they could do nothing wrong, and then all of a sudden they just couldn't do anything right. So I'm kind of surprised at them. Connecticut is another surprising team. They didn't look real good when they played Villanova, and I'm sure they're going to address those problems that they had next Tuesday when Villanova has to go to Connecticut for the rematch. So they've been struggling a little bit. Seton Hall seems to be getting it back together again. So even though the standings are not really tight at the top, that once the tournament, the Big East tournament arrives at Madison Square Garden, that there's going to be a lot of upsets. I mean, it's there's 11 teams in the league. 1 to 10 is really tough. 11 is Georgetown, and they haven't won a game yet. But they scare everybody because they have Patrick Ewing coaching them, and they do have some good outside shooters who, when they're hitting, are doing really well, and when they're not, the team really suffers. So it's going to be a great time in 2 weeks in New York. Figuring out this 3 weeks actually, figuring out what's going to happen as far as the seeds and who wins the whole thing.
Joe, one more thing. Were you sitting there almost like jaw dropped at how much Villanova struggled against Baylor?
Yeah, you know what? I was just sitting there, and I was pleased to be in the arena for that game, and it was great. My first trip to Waco. It was a pretty nice place, but geez, I was just sitting there like they were just completely. I don't know. It seemed like they played with one hand tied behind their back. It just, Baylor was out. And they were just beating him to every loose ball, and that's not a Villanova trait. They were disrupting everything they did offensively, and that's not. I mean, that Villanova doesn't succumb to that very often. It was just really a strange game, and obviously offensively they couldn't hit anything. So it was just one of those, I guess, that you, I don't know if you put the film in and watch it or if you just burn it and then go on to the next game. But, give Baylor credit. I mean, they played an outstanding game that day.
Well, I was there at Butler Fieldhouse when they played last year in the tournament. It was a phenomenal game. Baylor owned the second half. Davion Mitchell kind of turned that thing on its heel. And they said they hit 11 threes last night, and that was a huge difference. As you mentioned, a lot of points in the paint for Providence as well. Joe, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Joe Juliano, retired Philadelphia Inquirer writer, covered Villanova for many, many years, and we appreciate his time on Villanova. Providence 89-84. Villanova now, even with the win, they're not leading the Big 12 because the Providence is overall a Big East, 11-2, and Villanova 13-3. Nice win for. I like Jay Wright. I like him a lot. He seems to be just everything you've heard about. It's classy.
I like him because he's Italian.
And you like him as
he's got that, non-Italian last name, but that's just a front.
That says Italian like right.
That's a cover?
Yeah, it's a cover.
As a cover.
Look at that guy. You look at that guy. He's Italian.
All right, a couple of notes on college football and another contract extension that we'll get to in this hour as well. Plus at a little after 5 o'clock, Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, his thoughts about Baylor, Tech, Big 12, Kansas. He just was watching that game with Oklahoma State. Kansas just separated and did their thing on Monday night, plus his thoughts overall about men's basketball. And remember, pretty close with Nikki Collin. He's the one that joined us, I think, either the day of or the day after she was hired by Baylor, and how she has turned and how Baylor women have turned the corner. They host tonight TCU at the Farrell Center. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want, need, and used to be. As you get older, testosterone in your body can get lower, part of your blood, and he can get you a blood test, set it up, get a discounted rate, tell him I sent you, and then look at your blood levels, look at your testosterone levels, and 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It happens. It's part of father time. A lot of things happen as you get older, and one of them can be your testosterone level drops. And if that's part of you, he can find out with the blood test, look at the results, and then put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, used to be, and you need to be. PettyClinicLowT.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Colby. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, this 4 o'clock hour, we'll have Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, a little after 5. And then also Paul Catalina. He will do a top 10 today because yesterday he was not a part of the show.
Yeah, yesterday was a long day.
Sometimes you just need a break. All right, I got a couple of NFL prospect things. We haven't done that in a while. I want you to know this is you're not going to believe this. Washington has drafted the Reds Commanders. That's what they should have called them, the Red Commanders. And then you really would be a Russian football team.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, they lie enough.
They
lie enough. I'd fit right in if they wanted to do that.
Well, all of a sudden, Jerry's got a little big pile. The Cowboys organization is not flawless, apparently. But
no.
That's okay.
No,
all right.
No one's is.
No. So the Reds, they were. 1970, that's what they were called for many years until now. From 1970 until now, they have drafted 8 quarterbacks in a top 100 scenario. How many of them have a winning record? Now think about this. Top 100 means, back in the day, it could have been a 4th-round pick, but top 100 picks, 8 times they've drafted a quarterback. They've struck out on pretty much all of them at some point as far as longevity and success.
2. I'm guessing 2. Would Theismann be one of them?
No, I got to actually had a winning record while playing for the organization. Okay. So yeah,
would Theismann be one of them?
No, he was not. He was actually drafted later.
RG3.
No.
He didn't have a winning record?
No, because remember the second year they were bad.
So we don't know.
So 1970, Jay Schrader.
Oh, that was going to be my next guess.
Was it really?
Yeah.
He's the only one among the 8 having a winning record while he played for the organization. Didn't say. Well, back then, Joe Gibbs was running the deal. He never took them to a Super Bowl, but he was a part of, I think, the Super Bowl team when Doug Williams had the big moment. Washington has like the 11th pick in the draft. The reason I bring this up, a lot of you on YouTube that do listen to us, West Virginia fans, and then, of course, am I allowed to say Pittsburgh fans, Pitt fans, and you hate each other. But Kenny Pickett seems to be at least perhaps the highest-rated quarterback. I know the kid from Liberty's up there, Malik Willis, is that his name? But not that high. Can you believe that? They've had 8 quarterbacks, top 100 picks, and only one of them, one that a lot of people forget if you're a lifelong Washington fan, is Jay Schrader. That's why you suck.
You're asking if I can believe that? Yeah, absolutely I can believe that. I mean, there's nobody that comes to mind that's been that great. So, I mean, that is a startling statistic, but you look at how often they're drafting quarterbacks. Dwayne Haskins, anyone?
He's Schuler?
Yeah, I mean, he's Schuler, Dwayne Haskins, RG3.
RG3, yep.
They Patrick Ramsey, they've just been the absolute bottom-dwelling the most bottom-dwelling franchise when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, I'm sure somebody's got a better example of somebody that's been even worse, but there's not a big pool of those teams.
No.
And if you told me Washington's the worst, I would absolutely believe it and not question it whatsoever. Been dying to see them have an actual real starting quarterback for years. And the one guy that they kind of had, Kirk Cousins, there was not a great relationship there apparently. He goes off and leaves, and yeah, they've just been flipping in the wind basically ever since the RG3 injury. And, I mean, you look at it now, and he's years into his broadcasting career at this point. I mean, that's how pathetic it's been. Dan Snyder doesn't deserve to own a team in this league, and Washington's never going to get fixed until they finally get rid of his ass. I mean, I'm sorry, but they have as much bad karma as anything, I feel like.
I would just, if I'm the NFL, and I'm assessing who needs to own teams, this to me is getting to the level of who is the owner of the Clippers?
Sterling?
Donald Sterling. This is Donald Sterling level bad in that, and that was one incident that got caught on tape that opened just a powder keg of different things. But what has he done for that franchise? Do they win? No. Are they
respectable? No.
Are they a brand carrier for the league? Like when you think of the Washington franchise, do you think of, man, that's one of the teams that really is always good? No. Are they good for ratings? Probably not anymore. Are they?
Oh, they stay. No, believe it or not, they still have a little something to them, and I don't know why.
But are they okay? Is their stadium someplace that you want to be at and
would
play
you ever
games?
host a Super Bowl?
No.
No.
Does their team have nothing but bad news and never good news? Yes. And is the bad news getting worse all the time?
No, you're right.
Did you run out an owner in Carolina for a very similar thing? Yes. So, yeah, everybody's got problems. Look, Jerry and Rich Dalrymple have some problems right now in Dallas. They just settled a major suit that's been going on for 5 or 6 years now.
They didn't just settle it. This has been settled for like 5 or 6 years, apparently.
But they settled the suit 5-6 years ago, and Rich Dalrymple continued to work for the team, and we'll see, whatever comes of that. But, I mean, look, there's problems everywhere, but it's not repeated. I mean, the Washington franchise has whatever, Redskins football team, Commanders, it's nothing but bad news all the time.
No, and plus they suck. And, again, I'm fed up with it. I'm sick of it. Believe me, as a lifelong fan that had some – well, they used to be a franchise that was a shield brand. Mm-hmm. When you had Jack Kent Cook as your owner and you had Joe Gibbs as your head coach, and he wasn't there all the time. But when he was there, you didn't have to worry about him. It doesn't mean they were flawless. And so one of the things with the Jerry story with Rich Dalrymple, who was a long-time guy, we discussed him when he announced his retirement, was now that you have that story out, there's a feeding frenzy. And there'll be more. You hope not, but there could be. Because once that story's out, and that just kind of came out of nowhere, and you start getting, what's his name, Van Natta on you in the background, that's not good at all. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, young player, we covered him. We didn't cover him constantly, but we did games. Y'all remember a young man who was a defensive end at Belton named Logan Hall?
Yep.
He is highly ranked as an NFL prospect. He is this is from Dane Brugler. Hall is one of the more underrated prospects in the draft class, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's long gone by end of the first round. Personally, I like him best as an edge rusher, where he has a little bit more of a runway, unlock his quickness and length, but Hall would give Tampa. He's prospecting, or at least mock draft to 30 now. Flexibility on the defensive line. As Houston head coach Dana Holgorsen has called him, one of the best defensive tackles he's ever coached. Now, he was good at Belton. I remember him. He was very much kind of a guy who got a lot of sacks and TFLs, tackles for losses. He's a could end up in the second round. Who knows? But he is absolutely blowing up when it comes to mock drafts as a first-round pick from Belton High School.
Awesome. That's great for him. That would have him and Durham Smythe in the league right there.
Durham Smythe, the tight end who went to Notre Dame. So there's a lot of smoke, good smoke, around Logan Hall. We will have him. His agent is Drew Pittman, and that's Grant Taft's son-in-law. Drew Pittman's been on the show, and we'll have Logan Hall on the show. He's in the middle of training. We'll get him. So that's that. All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up? Then we go to the 5 o'clock hour with Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, new 5-year contract extension with Michigan's pretty big news through 2026. That's been out there for a couple hours now, but we haven't talked about it. But, yeah, new 5-year contract for Harbaugh after all the to-do with the NFL. And, would he stay at Michigan? Would he go? And then he stays because, well, he doesn't really appear to get any offers in the NFL. The Vikings gig didn't work out the way that it was thought it was going to. And so he's got some amends to make, or I'm sure he's already made those because now he's getting a contract extension. And, like we said with Dave Aranda yesterday, doesn't mean he can't flirt with the NFL in 2 or 3 years or even after this offseason, quite frankly. It's just going to make it far more difficult to do that and gives Michigan some level of extra insurance if they do lose him at any point in time. But I think he probably knows at this stage that he can't afford to keep doing that Matt Rule thing of I'm here, but I'm already one foot out the door as well. And no, but I do love it here. I'm going to be here, except for if, this one, there was always that, but I will if, and you don't want to deal with that if you're a Michigan fan. So I'm sure there's been some talks about, steadying those waters and not making that an every year thing because nobody wants to go through that every single offseason. It's not fun for anybody. But, yeah, that's a big deal, 5-year contract extension. So he's locked down through 2026. So that's a big contract extension in college football today.
Michigan, and, of course, coming off the great year, beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten championship, right, and had a hell of a year. With Jim Harbaugh, which they've been waiting on for quite some time, and he broke through. Now the question, can you sustain it? That's always the hardest. It's and I'm saying it's easy to get there, but it's harder to stay there. And we'll see if they can now maintain that level.
I also wanted to mention Darian Gillette from Marlin got an Alabama offer today. So tiny little Marlin, and they've suddenly just become a school with multiple Division I prospects, and now they got a young man who's got an Alabama offer. So wouldn't have seen that coming a couple of years ago when they couldn't buy themselves a win at times. But in the last couple of years, they really turned it around, and suddenly they have all this talent, and maybe that was talent that was transferring to, Midway or Waco High or Temple or wherever over the years. Or Mart, yeah.
And I say that just because of proximity.
Yeah, but Marlin also loses. If you look around, though, there's a ton of Marlin kids on other rosters. Yeah. It's almost every year you can find somebody that at one point in time was at Marlin, and now they are no longer. But, yeah, they've hit gold there right now in terms of Division I football recruiting, and Darian Gillette's right there at the top of the list. So congratulations to that young man. That's the biggest offer you can get right now in college football is that Alabama offer. Although I know some they're not really committable, and there's that whole thing sometimes that people talk about with certain schools and offers. But that's a big one. So
you
good for him.
You get one from Ohio State right now. You get one from Alabama, Georgia. That's pretty much the elite. With all due respect to anybody here, it is. ZS77 in the chat room. I don't know what will be louder, the Chris Beard boos or the Patrick Mahomes standing ovation. News is, at least it's been rumored, that he will be returning to Lubbock. I don't know if this is true, but I guess it's the first time he's returned to Lubbock since he turned pro. I think I've seen him.
I don't feel like that's true.
But that's from ZS77. We appreciate that on the chat room as well.
If that's true, and I want to say, just I have no concrete knowledge here. I want to say I don't believe that. But if it's true, that's really shocking if it's true. But I
feel
don't
like
believe
I've seen him in a game, but maybe he was on the road and it was close to where he was.
Yeah, might have been. Yeah, so maybe if that's true, then hey, that's really wild to think about that he would not have been there in that long of a time period. But yeah, it's hard to believe. But yeah, cool. Patrick Mahomes, you market the hell out of him as much as you can if you're Texas Tech.
When we come back, Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio on men's basketball, Baylor and Tech, the Big 12. Kansas, and much more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Right now, the President's Day sale continues. Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. Save big during the President's Day sales event. In fact, the 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has what was 2.9% financing, zero, zippo nada, 0% financing for 72 months plus $1,500 in bonus cash. And if you are in the first responder business, an extra $500 as well. Again, let me say that again. The 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3, 0% financing for 72 months plus $1,500 in bonus cash at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Also, the 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab, the Lone Star. Total value is up to $7,500 or as little as 0% financing for 72 months. First responders, another additional $500 for this vehicle. They're rolling. They have the new, they've added new pre-owned, which of course is hard to find. Their new car added that as well. That's hard to find, but not hard to find. They're on Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McLennan County Judge Campaign.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh-baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor wins the tip. And Meyer launches and buries one to start it. And the Bears on top.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Armstrong, was it you, Jack, or Emery who put up the poll today on the chat room? That was you? All right. What is your favorite college team? Baylor, 38%. Another Big 12 school, 29%. Another non-Big 12 school, 32%. I love that. Now, we have a Baylor audience, Sikkim 365 Radio. That's the core of what we do. But that's an incredible 130 votes. That's okay. I don't think you'd probably see much of a change if it was 500 votes or 1,000 votes. So that's a compliment to you, and also I think to us as well for what we try to do and what we try to cover. Like I had somebody say, why'd you have anyone talking about Villanova and Providence? They're both in the top 10. We're collegiate sports. Villanova played Baylor in the tournament last year, played them earlier this year. Hell, it's Villanova, and Providence is really good too at number 8 in the country until the loss last night. So 38% Baylor, 29% another Big 12 school, and 33% a non-Big 12 school. And we appreciate you joining us whenever you do every single day. Greg Krug, if I was a billionaire owner of Washington, I'd tear down RFK Stadium, put a new stadium right there in the city limits. I'm going to tell you this. RFK Stadium was a dump. FedEx Field's not much better. That's the new one they have that they've had now for several years. We've heard about how bad that is. But I'm telling you right now, RFK Stadium was a freaking home field advantage dude. That place wasn't very big. There wasn't a lot, like 50-some thousand. I mean, you didn't want tough part of neighborhood, and they won a bunch at RFK.
Ask most of the former players. They say that moving that played at either place or they feel that moving FedEx Field to where it was has taken out some of that juice, even that they should have built it in the city.
I was there the year after the Cowboys won the Super Bowl in 1992. They opened up Monday Night Football at Washington at RFK Stadium. Brian Mitchell had a monstrous game for the Redskins that night. And I was in the press box and then went down near the end of the field. And, again, it was the old bleachers. And, I mean, it was shaking. Maybe because it was so antiquated. I don't know. But it was a tough place to play. Cowboys have had some great wins there, too. But it was hard to win at what was then called, it's still called RFK Stadium in the nation's capital. All right, waiting on Doug Gottlieb to return our call and be a part of that as well. Right now, our good friend Matt Alkire, remember he's the NFL, he's not an NFL scout, but he scouts a lot of the prospects. The number one ranked player he has right now going into the pre-combine, Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, if you watch that guy play, if you just watch the games, he affects the game on almost every play. He is sideline to sideline really fast. He catches everything that floats up in the air. He is a difference maker for anybody who gets him. He did get injured towards the end of the year, but he's he's one of those players that's so good. If you had 3 safeties, you'd be like, no, we're taking him. We're taking him. He's that good. He might be Ed Reed good.
3,
at least college-wise, yeah.
Or Sean Taylor good?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anybody, even Ed Reed. Nobody was as intimidating as Sean Taylor.
No one was as big as him, man. That's what the thing was. He was so big, and he was still as fast, and he had ball skills, and he just had a nose for the ball, and yet he was so big. He was just a massive safety. I think that was what really set him apart, was he had all the other intangibles, but he had it in a much larger body, and he's just an absolute freak show. That's still one of the most heartbreaking things that I've ever, as a sports fan, experienced, was hearing that he had passed away and how he had passed away. And, Yeah, like that still sticks with me. I remember getting that phone call about that story, and yeah, that was really sad. Really sad.
And it set him back. I mean, he was that good. We're now joined by Doug Gottlieb. Just got off his own show, Fox Sports Radio. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And Doug, thank you as always for your time. You watched Kansas the other day against Oklahoma State. Baylor and Texas Tech, obviously at the top of the Big 12, are right below KU as well. Let's discuss Baylor. Your thoughts about the loss of Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. They have reinvented themselves before. Do you feel like they have a chance to do it again?
Yes, absolutely have a chance to reinvent themselves. I mean, I do. I think they're going to win a national championship again. I don't. I mean, that's just one. I mean, great human being. You know, that's like just the human element of it. Like, that's a really good kid. So you're bummed for him. And what is it that necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And so that's what Scott's going to be faced with. But it does allow you to play, a little bit smaller, a little bit freer. But there's going to be there's obviously ramifications from it. I didn't think it was a national championship team. Going back to, even before the SEC challenge, when I think some of that stuff got a little exposed, but it's a really good team. And I think there is time for some reinvention. And look, you got 13 dudes on scholarships. They've recruited really well, gives more opportunities. So it also shows how so many things went right last year, and now a couple things gone wrong this year. And it shows the magic of last season.
Well, yeah, Doug, they had no injuries last year. None. The only injury was COVID. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen even.
And honestly, like the COVID not playing Gonzaga thing, I think it helped them. I really did. Because it was hard to tell. I mean, everybody I knew was like, man, that team's awesome. They're unbelievable. But Gonzaga maybe had a chance. They still probably don't win the game, but to see the speed and quickness and defensive energy and athleticism, I think they would have been better prepared because it's just such a step up in levels from UCLA. So again, even that didn't seem like it worked for them. It actually worked for them. Everything worked out last year, whereas this year there have been some harder times.
Doug, what do you think about the matchup in Lubbock tonight between Texas Tech and Baylor? Tech got them the first time in Waco not that long ago. I know that McCullers a question for them. JTT, obviously, for the Bears, and LJ Cryer is just a forever question every game. But your thoughts on that matchup tonight in the LBK?
Well, I think one of the things, Texas Tech is really good defensively at making you throw that skip past the weak side corner. Remember, they're starting – I think they start 4 or 5 years, and their starting lineups average age is over 23 years old. Like, they got grown men. Now they will go some droughts if they can't score, but I think this is just one of those tough matchups for Baylor, especially considering LJ's constant swirling status as well as the other injuries. So yeah, I don't love Baylor, but the one thing they have built is an unbelievable culture. And these are the games, when you jump up and steal one here, that's how you win a league. And that's still potentially out there for them. Not likely, because Kansas kind of has it rolling. They figured themselves out. Themselves do another kind of magic act with this team, which I think is good, but not great. But I like the Tech team, but I especially like them at home. That place has become a zoo. Like, I can't explain it. It's always been a nice arena, but man, they've always had, even going back to when they played in the old place, kind of some vicious fans. Like mechanics drop their wrenches at some of the stuff that's said. Yeah. But now it's packed, and the students are crazy. That's a hard place to win. I'd be surprised if Baylor took one out.
Yeah, I don't see them winning tonight. If they do, it won't shock me. It won't be like, wow, because they're good. But at the same time, boy, Texas Tech is that atmosphere, of course, with Chris Beard. But really, it's not just that was unbelievable. The one at the Dunkin' Donuts Center last night was an incredible atmosphere with Villanova Providence. But yeah, Texas Tech, that crowd, and they're proud of that, and they want to remain unbeaten at home. And Mark Adams, your thoughts about what he has done to kind of reinvent who they are, not what they do defensively, but how he was able to piece together transfers himself and how good they are.
Well, he's done a good job, and I think one of the things, and Chris Beard tried to do this a little at Texas. So I'll give you a kind of little way back story. My brother's at San Diego State. I was just about to tell the story. And, transferring has become very much a fabric of college basketball. And when I was at Oklahoma State, we always had a couple. I was a transfer. Brett Robish was transfer from Illinois. I mean, Brooks Thompson, may God rest his soul, was a transfer from Texas A&M. Like, you name it, we had a lot of Glenn Alexander from Arkansas. We had a lot of transfers. But one of the things that Oklahoma State believed in, that Eddie Sutton believed in, was know what you're getting. And they did a great job in recruiting. And sometimes you wouldn't get a guy, and then you get him on the rebound, and it's called, it's actually called rebound recruiting. And when my brother was at San Diego State, they had a rule: we're not going to take anybody unless one of the coaches here or at a previous. And I think when you look at the multiple transfers, it's because you're recruiting out of the portal. And you don't know what you're getting. You don't know the kid. You don't know how to fit together the jigsaw puzzle. Anyway, Mark Adams, remember, he won national championship as a junior college coach. Mm-hmm. He's an unbelievable defensive tactician. But also, they did a very good job of the guys that they took. And I was there for that Texas game. They had knowledge of them. They knew what they were getting. And so sometimes that's more important than the kid's overall talent is what type of person he is and does he fit. And, like in Lubbock, that's going to take a specific type of fit. So I think they've done a really good job in that sense. And I think it's a model on some level. To be honest, it's still a year removed from Beard. And even though it's a new team, Beard built that culture. They have a great practice facility, like all that stuff is rolling. It's his program, but not totally his program. And he's such an odd gee shucks nice guy, kind of in a different way than Scott is. That it's really endearing. But look, at some point when you have one of those tough years and nothing goes right, do they still have your back? Do you still have that crowd support? Are you still able to get the transfers in? When people know they're playing for you and know you don't play super fast, how does that look? I think that's the big challenge. But so far, what Mark has done, and he's built an incredible staff. He got Barrett Perry to come over, who's the head coach at Colorado State. Again, similar to what you saw with Chris Beard. The one issue with sometimes taking these head coaches is they've been head coaches too long. That assistant coach position is a grinder position, not just in recruiting, but also in your relationships with the kids, in your film study, and all that other stuff. Like, you got to make sure you got some hungry coaches, and I do think that Mark's done a good job. Barrett's perfect example. Like, he was a head coach, but it was at a low major, so he was already doing all the stuff he has to keep doing anyway.
Doug, you said Kansas, good, not great. Could this Kansas team be great, or are they just kind of what they are?
I think I think we're in for a classic Bill Self early round loss. Not because I don't think he's an unbelievable coach. I just don't think they're that talented. I really like those two wings, Abaji and Brown. And McCormick was great the other night. He's played better. And now they're working in some of these freshmen, but they're just okay at the point guard spot. I think Remy Martin, if he can get healthy by the end of the year, I think he can give them a little something. But like them winning this league, as good as this league is, if they win it again, that's self. And then they'll get a 1 or a 2 seed, and then the second round they run into somebody who's got equal talent. Maybe they lose, or maybe it's the Sweet 16 they do, and people think it's an underachieving year. No, the overachieving is what they've done throughout the entirety of the season. And, water kind of finds its level sometimes in the NCAA tournament.
Doug, who's the best team as we start to draw closer to the tournament that nobody's talking about as a contender that might be a sneaky contender?
The best team nobody's talking about?
Or maybe not talking about as much as they're talking about, like the Gonzagas or the Auburns of the world.
I mean, I think Arkansas, I think Arizona and UCLA are legit in very different ways. They split, one of their own home courts. UCLA is kind of exactly what maybe one, maybe the freshman's an NBA player too, so maybe 1.5 NBA players, but they really can guard. And then their offense there's nothing really special to it. They just run a set to get one of their upperclassmen, Johnny Juzang or Jaime Jaquez, an ISO, and try and get them a bucket. When they make it, they win. When they don't, they lose. But I still like them. I mean, they're just a really good basketball team. And then Arizona is an explosive offensive team. I don't know if they're tough enough or good enough defensively. And none of those cats that play in the NCAA tournament. But I think either of those teams could get to a Final Four and could win it. I think Kentucky could win it. I know they lost last night. But I still really like that squad. Obviously, Auburn. I think the Big Ten I think Illinois is capable. I know they lost in the first round last year, so people are like, well, they were better last year. I like this group. This is a little bit more of a team, and they're not as much dependent upon Ayo Dosunmu. So I think Illinois got a shot. I think Michigan State's got these are like Final Four caliber teams. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the two best teams Gonzaga, I think, is very, very good. Obviously, you wonder when they step up and level of competition in that backcourt. While super talented, let's see what Rasir Bolton does when these games really, really matter. And then Auburn, I like their backcourt, but those kids sometimes forget they got the best talent in the country at power forward or small forward, and they shoot the ball so much. But I would be surprised if one of those teams wasn't in New Orleans, and it wouldn't shock me if they're both there.
Doug, the Baylor women's program, we spoke with you immediately after Nikki Collin was hired, and we've had you on a couple of times. You've known her for a long, long time, and they had a rough start, and they lost a couple of tough non-conference games, and on occasion they did that in the past, but you know the standard that was there with Kim Mulkey. But then they had a couple of losses in conference play, and of course that was like, oh my God. But they are rolling now. Now, they had a bad loss a week ago to Oklahoma, but they're playing really well, and I'm sure you're not surprised Nikki's got them turned in the right way.
Well, didn't they beat Texas twice?
Yep, in 3 days.
Like a week?
Yep, 3 days. 3 days. Yep.
And if you know the respect, not only she has, but people in basketball have for that program. And look, you got to get into bounce side. They're going to throw out a stinker every now and then. I think that's why she's wired pretty well for this stuff. That was one of the things when I talked to some of the people who decided to hire her. And I think it was Molly Miller was the other choice. Is that they felt like what she'd endured in the volume of games in the WNBA, the handling of personalities in the WNBA, and frankly, I think the controversies that surrounded her club when she was in there, but knowing she was going to go through it. Like, look, Kim has her flaws. You guys know them even better than I do, and Kim has a ton of support because she was great at Baylor. There's no one has anything bad to say about the product she put on the basketball floor. It was just the demands for having her name on the floor and one thing on campus, and it became very personal to her. And I don't think it was personal to Baylor. I think it was business, smart business. But that aside, she knew what she was replacing. I'm not sure she knew what it would feel like when you lose a couple of games that normally you didn't lose. But Nikki's cut out for it, man. She's wired a little differently now. Like keep in mind what she's been through. Like go through the real history of Nikki Taggart or Nikki Collin, and you're like, okay, it wasn't just playing at Marquette and then getting into coaching, but it wasn't all roses as they were coaching, and when she had to stop coaching and when she started back up and working at FGCU and working her way up the food chain. So I'm not surprised by it, but I do know that the 2 Texas wins, she felt like they really turned the corner. And look, these players were recruited mostly to Kim Mulkey's style, which is different than, Kim is one of those old school classic coaches where you run 3 sets and we're going to run them better than anybody else. That works. That's not how Nikki plays. So it's a little bit different. So it's taken some evolution from players. It's taken her kind of meeting some in the middle. And it takes, a good win or two, some faith building. But I thought she's a great candidate. I know she's a really good coach, and I do think they've turned the corner. And, you start playing as well as they've played for the most part recently, and you start thinking about the possibilities of playing, all 3 weekends in March.
One more thing, Doug, on that. I don't know if you heard about this, but they beat Iowa State. They beat them badly. Iowa State was coming off. They had a little bit of a COVID issue as well, but they hammered them at home. And the players, it was a relief because it was a win they had to have, but also one that was impressive. It kind of sent a little bit of a statement that they were turning the corner. And both the players that were in that room that day, I think it was Jordan Lewis and Queen Egbo, I can't remember exactly who they were, but they both said something about her and how much and I know players say that, but you could tell what they were saying about Nikki being real was real. And she had a little bit of a tear. Kind of the ESPN's doing a documentary, series on Baylor on ESPN Plus. And the woman who, TL, said, I saw a little bit of a tear show up. And so I thought that was pretty cool that they had her back as well.
Yeah, I think something really interesting and great is happening there, and it takes the right person. It is hard. Like, think about the person who eventually is going to have to replace Scott. What?
Yeah.
Right? Like all those assistants, they're going to call them back up because they're all going to get jobs, right? They don't, Paul Bills and some of those others already have jobs, right? And they're going to call them like, hey. It's like 20 years from now. Like, you want to come replace Scott? Like, no! Right? No, thank you. Why? Because the dude wins and everybody likes him now. And Scott's got a dark, those players, they're not disciplined because everything is all, dotting your I's with hearts. But for the most part, Scott's a wonderful human being. Now, look, Kim was a little bit more, I don't want to say rule with an iron fist, but with the type of discipline that and the way in which she coached. And Nikki's different, but Nikki also, again, there's a respect level that she carries for the players that comes from a professional background that you don't have if you've been in college, right? The college idea has always been the coach's boss, and then everybody gets along or else. And you find out adversity really exposes, right? Exposes what people are made of. And when there's been some adversity, you find out that Nikki is a real person, that she is willing to meet people halfway. She is willing to listen to players. That doesn't mean she's always going to acquiesce, right? Younger generation players always think that being heard means that you agree with them. That's not how it works, right? I hear you. We're just going to go a different way. But she's good like that. And I think, it's the Cliff Kingsbury, not successful in college, successful for the most part in the pros. Or all of these Urban Meyers, successful in college and not successful in the pros. And we can go through a list of it, right? It's a different job. And I had so many people call me and like, man, Nikki's going to take over that Baylor job. That's a hard job. And they weren't exactly smoking people when she was in Atlanta the last year. And I was like, you know what? All of that prepared her actually for Baylor, which is a better job than the Atlanta job. And I think those times in which she had to listen, she had to hear players out. She had to work, and when you're in that WNBA, like you got to fix problems on the fly. You got a game one day, you got to get on the plane and fly to the plane. You got to fix things. You can't have necessarily this hard and fast system. And we just didn't play hard enough, ladies. Like that ain't how it works. You got to make some tweaks. I think she's done some right tweaks. Again, I'm not going to promise people that she's going to have the success of Kim. I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to have it at Baylor. I think it'll be helped by the new arena. But I do think that you found that you got a really good person and a really good coach. And so far, if you're not impressed, like you're just holding on to your Kim Mulkey poster a little bit too tight.
Doug, as always, man, we appreciate your time. I know you've already had a long afternoon with what you do, but jumping on with us, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
All right, boys. Got a game tonight you can check out on Fox Sports 1, by the way. Air Force, Boise. I know. Ratings, bonanza, but Boise's really good.
No, Boise's pretty good. Jeremiah Dickey, former Baylor assistant AD, we like him a lot.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good. I'd be interested, by the way. You guys think Jerome Tang gets the Tulsa job? That to me would seem like a home run, easy hire.
Well,
at some point in time, people need to keep rating that staff because everybody who leaves is doing a great job.
Well, yeah, because Paul Mills had the great run last year. What Grant McCaslin's doing, what Driscoll's done.
I think Grant's big. I think Grant's big time. I think Paul's big. I don't think Tulsa has this thing, and I know that they still have a coach, whatever, in Frank, but Tulsa has this thing. They just outside of Bill Self, they don't want to hire an ORU guy. But I would. Jerome should get a job, and Grant's big time. He'll get a Big 12 job. When the timing's right.
We would hate to see Jerome leave, but we also would be thrilled for him when that time comes, and hopefully it does come sooner rather than later. Doug, thank you, man. Appreciate your time.
All right, man. Anytime. Doug
Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio with us, former Oklahoma State basketball player, and he's one of those that is he reminds me a lot of Tim Brando. He doesn't pull any punches. Not everybody likes him, but you know what? He doesn't care. I like it, and we appreciate his knowledge and insight as well. And Jerome Tang in Tulsa, Jerome Tang anywhere would be awesome for Jerome Tang, but also would be great for Scott Drew and his program as well. When we come back, a couple of nuggets. Golf. Haven't said something about them in a while, the sport. There's a little something brewing with that Greg Norman Saudi Arabia tour that could involve Bryson DeChambeau, although he said, hold on. But there's something brewing. It also could involve Phil Mickelson. It's about the money. Mickelson loves money. And he's towards the end of his career, even though he won the PGA Championship just last year. So that and more, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now at Waco Custom Marketplace, they have T-bone steaks on sale for $7.99 a pound. The Porterhouse, which is even a bigger, better, faster, stronger than T-bone, $8.49 a pound. Fresh chicken breast for $2.99 a pound. So are the regular piggy sticks. Top sirloin steak, $5.99 a pound. In our family growing up, my father, on occasion, would give us, we'd cook steaks, and we loved it. And we'd be sirloin because we had 7 of us. Sirloin steak, the way, if you season it right or you cook it right, can be absolutely delicious at $5.99 a pound. Jalapeno cheese piggy sticks, also $2.99 a pound. And 10% off all barbecue, the B&B charcoal for your barbecue. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, where you have an absolute full throttle bakery and butcher shop with seafood, pork, beef, and chicken. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
I mentioned this. Did I say this on the air, or did I mention it to you guys about the last 16 quarterbacks in their first Super Bowl appearances who lost? Did I don't know if I said that on the air.
I don't think so.
The last 16 quarterbacks who appeared in their first Super Bowl and lost, none of them have gotten back to a Super Bowl.
Which is why when everybody's like, it'll be fine for Joe Burrow, you don't know that it will.
So let's go over that a little bit. Like that's okay. Like for example, Jared Goff, he's in Detroit now.
Oh, yeah, he lost the Super Bowl, and the Rams got so pissed off at him that they traded. They got Matt Stafford out of prison and sent Jared Goff into it.
By the way, Matt Stafford in the parade today, the Rams celebrating their championship, and there's a picture of him, and it's a video, and he's kind of having a pretty good time. I mentioned it. And Tom Brady, I just still love this, although some people say he's done this before. Mix water with that. Mix it. You got to mix in a little water with that because of Tom Brady got so silly last year. All right, so who else are we missing? I mean, we can go back too far. But having said that, here's Joe Burrow loses. 16 consecutive first-year appearance quarterbacks have not gotten back to the Super Bowl, which is kind of hard to imagine. Here is Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. Marino, early in his career. Don't be discouraged, Joe Burrow. I also came up short in Super Bowl my second year. You have the rest of your career to never make it back. Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly.
Exactly, Joe. I also lost my first Super Bowl, but the next year we made it again. We lost that one too. And then we made it again. And eventually, you know the story, he lost 4 consecutive.
And then the funny one is actually, how do
I delete this?
I mean, yeah.
And that's a man who's been battling throat cancer with an incredible sense of humor.
Yeah. And Dan Marino with a joke there that hasn't cracked one apparently since he was in Ace Ventura. But
that's your buddy.
Man.
So let's go back over this list.
I was surprised to see a funny tweet from Dan Marino, honestly, because the man is angry all the time. It's like no one told him you're Dan Marino.
He's only angry at you.
No, it's like everybody told him he's Dan Marino.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's actually like. Because, the dude's a D. I mean, in my experience, he is. And one of my... I see him at Radio Row, and I'm just like, whatever. That's for some people. That's Dan Marino, and I'm a little bit jaded because I've just been around it long enough now to where you don't get starstruck by many people. But, maybe the first time I saw him, I was like, wow, him and Steve Young and all the quarterbacks I grew up watching, Joe Montana. But, the more I was around or heard or learned, I was just like, yeah, that dude's that's kind of the way he is, apparently.
We have had and interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens, and even on this show when we started it a couple of years ago, Hall of Famers, quarterbacks. I can't think of anyone who's ever not been friendly and also come on the show. We've had Montana, and this is before I even got Montana, Jim Kelly. Oh, name them. Just name any of them. Guys from back in the 60s and 70s and whatever else, and he just never budged. And we had him right behind us one time. Was it in It was in New York.
It was in New York. And we gave his handler, the PR person, a candle because she was near tears because she forgot to tell him about one more of the 5 he had to do, and he just unleashed on her in the middle of the room. And it was like, bro.
Yeah.
I definitely, if I would have, I don't know, I guess being young, didn't know any better than he was just on football, but you get older and you realize, there's a dude out of the helmet too, and he's definitely not one of my favorites, not even close.
Go backwards then on these Super Bowls. We won't go all the way back, but first time Joe Burrow, San Francisco,
and he plays
Garoppolo.
for the freaking Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
So, what are the odds of them returning, given the fact that it took them as long as it did to get there? Now, granted, Joe Burrow's an exceptional player, but everything coming together the way that it did for them this year, no, I'm not banking on him getting back. I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to be back anytime soon. No.
Rams with Goff. Falcons with Matt Ryan.
Goff's not seen a Super Bowl ever. He's in Detroit. They have no chance, absolutely no chance whatsoever.
Cam Newton.
He's done.
Russell Wilson. No,
he's won.
He's won it. 49ers. Garoppolo. Who was the quarterback for them when they lost to
Kaepernick?
Colin Kaepernick. Yep.
He's,
let's see here. Colts lost to New Orleans, but they had already won it. It was still Peyton Manning. There's a couple others. Donovan McNabb, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the quarterback of Carolina when they lost to New England?
Jake
Delhomme. Who was the quarterback of Oakland when they lost to Tampa Bay?
Rich Gannon.
There you go. So it goes on and on and on and on. So 16 consecutive first-time Super Bowl quarterbacks lost and have not been back to the Super Bowl.
Was there not like just a straight list attached to that tweet or anything like that?
No, it was not. It was just that.
Okay.
But we're going down the list, and it looks like it's pretty close to it.
Yeah, I just figured you'd have the 16 listed because that's what the tweet was about. But, that just goes to show you it's hard to make. And, there's no guarantee for a guy like Joe Burrow. There's no guarantee for Matthew Stafford to get back, so he got his one opportunity and he took full advantage of it, and now he has nothing to lose sleep over. His career's set, no matter what he does from here on out. But yeah, for Joe Burrow, long way to go, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him back there, but I'm definitely not banking on it either, just because it's so difficult to do.
Armstrong, put that tweet up again and see who it was from, and I can look up whether or not there was a list attached, and it's not on there. Yeah. No, that's not the one I'm talking about. The one I was talking about is the 16 consecutive Super Bowls. Now, I mentioned earlier the top prospects in the pre-combine, the list by Matt Alkire, who's been on this show. 3 of the top 5 players listed right now, other than Aiden Hutchinson and Kyle Hamilton, Hutchinson from Michigan, Evan Neal, Akeem Ekwonu, and Charles Cross, all offensive tackles, Alabama, North Carolina State, and Mississippi State. No quarterback until, on this list, top 20, let's see, 13, still going. I don't see, Matt Corral, actually 27th, even ahead of Kenny Pickett on this mock draft by Matt. Now, one other note, on the one from Dane Brugler about the elite players, high-level players, draft picks. I kept this list. Pickett, I mentioned him because of that crazy Washington stat. At number 12, and again, this is 12. He could be 28. He could go 5. Ahmad Gardner, a hell of a player, cornerback at Cincinnati. At 18, Matt Corral. Bring him up because we saw him in the Sugar Bowl. Cowboys, Kenyon Green, offensive lineman, A&M. There's two defensive. Another one with Leal will be on this list as well.
I would love the Cowboys to get Kenyon Green, considering how. I mean, if as a fan, I want them to get certain players because you like them, but I want them to get the best player available. If that's Kenyon Green, I think that hits their biggest need, which is offensive line, which nobody really realized until about a month ago that they really had a problem there.
Logan Hall, Houston, I mentioned him, 30th ranked. This is from Dan Brugler. And then DeMarvin Leal, defensive lineman from A&M at the end of the first round. And then Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati. Myjai Sanders, edge rusher, Cincinnati, are in the second round, at least rated now. Again, this is a mock draft. It will change 35 times. And then Marcus Jones, the kick returner, return man, who won the game against SMU, and the cornerback from Houston, second round at least for now. And Breece Hall, the running back from Iowa State. This is in the Dane Brugler mock draft. And again, it'll change tomorrow. And then, of course, many more times after that as well. Now, the quick golf note. So Greg Norman in Saudi Arabia, they're trying to start this new golf tour, and they're basically putting up bunches of millions of dollars, right? Jim McLean Golf, and I've seen this, and I saw DeChambeau, not with this one, but before, say he pulled out of the tournament. And he hasn't had a great start to the year. The source saying that Bryson DeChambeau moving to the Saudi Golf League, it should allow him to play still in the majors, Masters, U.S. Open, British Open. And I'm not so sure about that, even with exemptions. Lots of rumors swirling with Phil Mickelson as well. Then I saw another report that Mickelson is at the end of his career as far as winning on the PGA Tour. He won a major last year, but we know that he wants to buy a new jet, and so why not go get the money? But Bryson DeChambeau, the reports are all saying, and I want to hear from him, and not that he's going to join us on the show, that he just wants to go play somewhere where he's liked.
I don't think they'll like him there either. He's not trying to be liked.
Patrick Reed's on the PGA Tour, one of the most hated players. Doesn't give a damn. Maybe that's why he's hated. He's also been accused a couple of times of a little bit of iffiness on a couple of rulings. He doesn't care. So wouldn't that be interesting? The most up-and-coming guy on the tour, powerful name, if that league, and it's going to go, Saudi Golf League, but the questions are, if you join the league, the PGA Tour has basically said, we'll cut your hand off.
Well, I mean, what if the Masters decides not to let those guys
Well,
in?
and that has to come into play. Like Mickelson has a lifetime. He's won it. He can play there for the rest of his life until he doesn't want it.
But DeChambeau's not won the Masters, and he may not win the Masters.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Well,
especially if he doesn't get a chance to play.
Exactly. But like if they say, no, you can only get an exemption for life if you win the jacket, So that's out there, and I don't know. Again, I've kind of looked at 2 or 3 different reports, people that I trust that are in the golf business, but that's interesting about what happens with that and how much of that might occur. They tried this before. Norman was involved in before, and it just did not work.
By the way, anybody who plays in that Saudi Arabia League, I don't want to hear any political opinion from you on anything ever. Not that these guys, like Phil Mickelson's big political guy or anything, but I don't want to hear a damn word about anything politically from anybody playing in that league if you're going to, basically take blood money in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. WWE's been running events, once or twice a year now for the last several years in Saudi Arabia. There's a big backlash to it because of human rights issues and just various other issues in Saudi Arabia. People don't feel like they should be partnering with them, but why do they do it? Why do you guys think that they do it?
They do it.
They make like $1 quadrillion for every event they do there. They basically just go and do whatever the Saudi Arabians want them to do. They tell them like, hey, we want Goldberg here. We'll pay like $20 million to get him here. Undertaker came out of retirement after like the best written way for him to end his career. Came out of retirement and looked like a damn fool, along with Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Kane, who are all retired. They all came out of retirement for one of these random Saudi Arabia shows. Why? Because they were all getting like $10 million for like 20 minutes of work. And so, there's still people that bristle a little bit about them having those events, but it's just so much money that they're just not going to turn down the money. That's why they're $1 billion company now, is because of deals like the Saudi Arabia one. So, money's going to be the driving factor here as well. And I'm sure it'll make some people, just say, yeah, I'll dive into it. But man, there sure seem like a lot of questions though. That's for sure.
Tiger Woods today had a news conference. We got to go for Paul's Top 5. He was asked about, he played pretty well in that deal with his son. He played pretty well. I mean, he looked pretty good. He was, of course, in a cart. I wish I could tell you when I'm playing again. I want to know, but I don't. My golf activity has been very limited. I can chip. I can putt really well, hit short irons very well, but haven't done any long stuff seriously. I'm still working. I'm working on my walking part. Foot was a little messed up about a year ago, so the walking part is something I'm still working on, strength development in that. And so who knows? He may not. I never thought we'd even see him play ever again. And he was in that deal with his son, which was pretty cool. Frustrating, but it's not my timetable. That's what he said, a few other things as well. So it was good to hear from him for the first time. It is 5:51. Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 college basketball teams that could use a winning streak. And these are teams that, for different reasons, most of them are in a funk. Some of them aren't necessarily in a funk. It's just going in right now. It would help them a lot. Number 5, Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Lost 3 of their last 5. Just lost to Penn State the other night. This is a team that, look, if they really want to make a strong run, this is a pretty talented team. If they want to make a strong run in the tournament, they need to kind of get going right now.
Well, and Doug Gottlieb brought them up as a team he thinks could make a push.
Yeah, but they got to,
Baylor beat them.
Yeah, sooner rather than later. Number 4, Iowa State.
Oh, they need more than a streak.
Yeah. I mean, they're 4-9 in the conference. They started out like a house on fire, but since the conference season started, they have been exposed a little bit. And this is a team that if they're going to make the tournament at all now, which seemed like a lock just 3 weeks ago,
they're
need
at
to
the
go
very bottom ahead of just West Virginia by
They need
half
to go
game.
on a run.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird because last night, was it last night that they won? Yeah, I don't even remember now at this point.
They beat TCU.
Yeah, they beat TCU
which is a critical win.
in a huge shootout, 54-51. No, but I saw like all these comments about TJ Overholzer and like he's the next mayor and he's this and that, and then you say that and I'm like, well, I get that there's some optimism for what they're doing, but let's not act like it's on that track right now necessarily. But yeah, early in the year they definitely showed some signs and they've floundered a little bit. But he does seem like a guy that's going to have them, in the thick of things. The longer that he is able to build up that program. But yeah, right now they're on the struggle bus and they're very fortunate they got that win last night against the Frogs.
Number 3, Alabama. And look, Alabama's been playing better. They beat Baylor handily a couple weeks ago in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. But this is a team that if they really want to make people scared of them, they need to win multiple games in a row. They've got some scary guards.
Incredible wins, though.
They have incredible wins, but they need to do it,
Well, they've beaten Ole Miss and Arkansas back-to-back, and Arkansas was playing pretty well when they beat them.
Yeah, but they need to, I'm saying sustain this winning streak.
Yeah, no, they have Mississippi State they should win. And then at Kentucky, that will be tough. Vanderbilt, South Carolina, A&M, and LSU, they can win all those.
Yeah, they need to. They may not win out, but they need to get at least close to winning out for the rest of the year.
Also Burger. I said that wrong. I knew I said that wrong. I wanted to correct myself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Number 2, Houston dropped 8 spots in the rankings this week.
They do.
Yeah, they need a winning streak right now to get back, just to get their mojo back. This team going to the tournament for sure. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them in the long term, but in the short term, they need to get their mojo back because they've dropped 8 spots in the rankings because they've hit a bit of a cold spell.
There was a time, and I'm telling you, like maybe 8 or 9 times in a row, I always seem like I catch them in like looking up and down, who's else is on, whatever. And there was a time where it seemed like every time I watched them, they were up 27-5 or something like that. Against Cincinnati, they ended up winning by 22. They had a huge lead. Then they kind of let it get back. They were blowing people out. But, yeah, they've hit and, of course, they had some bad injuries.
And they just played SMU and Memphis. Both teams are playing better right now. Memphis, I believe, is a 4-game winning streak. There's a team that needs like a 9-game winning streak to get back to where everybody thought they were going to be with Penny Hardaway. And number 1, LSU. This is a team that a month ago we thought might contend for the SEC title. I think that's off the table right now. And they're in a funk with Will Wade. A funk at LSU.
Back to Memphis, I didn't realize that. They've won 6 straight. There was a game in which they lost, and Penny Hardaway cussed the media. Remember that? I mean, he went off. And then he eventually had to pull back on that, which he should have, because what he said was really silly, the way he said it. But, yeah, they're on a hot streak. But, yeah, LSU, they were – Will Wade, you talk about a cat with 9 lives, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there were thoughts he wouldn't even be coaching again. But he's been able to survive all that, and – I saw them play a couple of times earlier this year. They were really good when I watched them. So they need one too, huh?
Yep.
Well, they won a couple in a row, but yeah, they had lost at one point like 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8 before the couple of wins. And tonight the wins were against anybody like A&M's, who's very middle of the road.
Yeah.
And, so they got a couple to break that streak, but no, they've definitely nosedived a bit, and it comes to the record. And yeah, you're right. Will Wade does seem to have 9 lives, so we'll see if he's got maybe an extra one to get them corrected in time for the tournament.
What hurt LSU is that losing to Arkansas, Alabama on the road, we know how talented they are, Tennessee, but then they lost to TCU by 9 in that SEC challenge. Ole Miss, and then Vanderbilt. So it's kind of like when you lose a game in the Big 12 that you're not supposed to lose or you shouldn't lose, especially if it's a home game. That's what Baylor was treading on thin ice. You could find yourself losing 5 straight. All right, Paul, thank you very much. Thanks to, Emory's been unbelievable. Emory Winter, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Jack. You okay? Good. Jack McKenzie's on his way to go cover the women's basketball game tonight. Jack Armstrong Sims here running the mothership, and Craig Smoak as well. Back again tomorrow. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to our great sponsors, the chat room, the text line, all of you. Every day, 3 until 6 Central Time, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.